What is going on, everybody? This is the Xbox 2 podcast. I am Agent 0019, Randall Thor, the man with the million.
What?
What? What do you mean, what?
0019?
009. We'll talk about it in just one second. Let me get the intro done, okay, Jez? Before you interrupt me. Okay?
Sorry.
You know, lots going on. Lots going around, you know? What's going on, everybody? I'm Rand, and this is my co-host, my buddy, my right-hand man, the managing editor of Windows Central, the one and only Jez Corden of Windows Central. What's going on, man?
Hey, pal. Man, it's been a mad dash to the finish line today because Microsoft decided to drop a load of news very calculatedly about an hour ago, all at the same time. There was an op-ed in Wall Street Journal. There's an op-ed in Huffington Post, I think it is, and also they also dropped some other news that we'll talk about in a minute relating to the cost of games. So yeah, it's been a mad dash over here, and then all of a sudden, I'm finishing up an article, and oh shit, I meant to podcast in like 5 minutes. So yeah, it's been a weird one this Monday, but we made it. We're here.
Yes.
And rock and or roll, baby.
Rock and or roll. Yeah, it's definitely been bro, it has definitely been a weekend. You know what I mean, bro? It's like whew,
yeah,
man.
Did you have a wedding?
Yeah. So the reason we're doing this on Monday, which I guess fortune favors us because Xbox decided to raise the prices of their first party games today out of nowhere. Yes, which gave us something actually substantial to talk about outside of Xbox Activision Blizzard bullshit that constantly goes on. It seems every single week, every single day, there's something going on. I probably just demonetized the podcast because I said a bad word in the very beginning of the show, but oh well. So I've been basically like unplugged. I've been so busy since Wednesday. I haven't seen gaming news. I haven't looked at gaming news. I haven't played a video game. It's just we have family all over. So I got my two younger nephews here, my brother's kids, Oliver and Wesley. They're 7 and 3. And I'm Uncle Matt. And I am the best. I'm the best Uncle Matt. So they just want to hang out with their Uncle Matt. Oliver just wants to watch me. He wants me to watch him play Roblox all the time. He loves Roblox. Loves it so much. And he's just always playing Roblox. And the thing is, Uncle Matt has to sit next to him and watch him as he plays Roblox. Because that's what my nephew wants. So they're always here, loud as 7-year-olds and 3-year-olds can be, among everybody else who's also here. So yeah, doing the podcast on Friday was basically not happening at all. It was just impossible. So I was like, we have to do the show for Monday. And we're here on Monday. My brother and his wife have taken the kids, and they're out doing, visiting things here. I think they went to the train store, some big train store a little bit downtown. So they're not here right now. So I have a nice little window of time where I can do this show without having to watch Roblox. So, yes.
Has it sort of brought you around to the Roblox craze?
I mean, I knew about the Roblox. I knew about the Roblox craze. I even, as a good uncle as I am, I actually gave him $100 of Roblox money, and he's already spent I think $100 of Roblox money is 10,000 Roblox coins or whatever the hell they call it. He's already spent 1,000 of that within 20 minutes. So. Yeah, and then we had the whole wedding on Saturday. So, bro, I mean,
did you get wasted?
No, I don't drink.
Oh, I keep forgetting that because it's so foreign to me. Don't drink? Oh yeah, God.
No, I don't.
Did you drink orange juice? What do normal people drink? Milk? Water? I
had water. I think maybe I had a Coke. So that was about it. It was just a long day. Up super early, drive an hour to, the location, get dressed, sit around, wait for photos, and then all the stuff that went into it. It was a very, very long day, and then Sunday was also very much like a recovery day and everything. So I haven't been paying attention. I haven't been online. I haven't been looking at anything. So forgive me if I've missed out on some of these topics because I don't know what's going on in the world of video games. But we're going to try to do our best to have an entertaining show. So I thank everybody for being here. Much appreciated. Love you guys. And thank you for the for people that left a good comment on my picture, my 0019, Jez. I thought it was, because I wasn't in a tux, but I was in a nice suit. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to take a picture. And I was like, the picture started off, and you liked it, and I think you even retweeted it. So it's like, you don't even know what it was where I said, hey, my name's Thor, Randall Thor, Agent 0019. Doing the whole James Bond thing, right? So, you don't even know what I'm talking about. And he's being, I don't. He's being silent. So much you pay attention to me. So much you pay attention to me.
I totally pay attention to you, man. I mean, it's a very important thing you were talking about right there.
Yeah, I know. Yes, talking about Roblox and weddings on this episode of episode 244 of the Xbox 2 podcast.
244 episodes, baby.
But yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time. Wedding was fun. Steak and chicken were the dinner, and the steak was really good, and chicken was pretty good too. And it was nice to see people that I haven't seen in quite some time. Like one of my favorite cousins growing up, I haven't seen in 20 some odd years. I finally got to see him. He was there, so it was nice to reconnect with some family members I have not seen in quite some time. And it was. Everyone was like, "Oh man, you look really good in your suit." I don't think I look good in the suit, because I'm still working my way through the weight loss, and I was almost hit 60 pounds lost, but I'm sure I probably gained a little bit because I ate some of the food at the wedding and whatnot. And but we're doing better. We're doing good.
It's all about that weekly average, man. You can have a cheat day as long as you average it out for the rest of the week.
Yes. So I haven't gotten to play Callisto Protocol, even though I haven't. I haven't gotten to play Need for Speed Unbound, even though I have it. So I am looking forward to getting through those games and trying it out for myself. So, yeah. Make sure you guys do us a favor. Hit the like button. Share this out. And, we'll do some really quick housekeeping. Because I don't know how long I got to be able to do this show. So hopefully we'll release at 2 hours. But I don't know, a 4-hour show might not be in the cards. Or maybe it will be. Maybe when the kids come home and the family comes back, they won't bother me. But I'm assuming you might actually hear them because they probably will come down here and start to bug me a little bit.
We'll have a proper show on Friday. This is going to be a sort of impromptu chaos show.
This week's sponsor is BetterHelp. So, as the world's largest therapy service, BetterHelp has matched 3 million people with professionally licensed and fully vetted therapists, all available 100% online. Plus, it's affordable. To get started, all you need to do is fill out a questionnaire, and then BetterHelp will match you with a suitable therapist for your needs. If things aren't clicking, you can easily switch to a new therapist at any time. There are no waiting rooms and no waiting in traffic and no endless searching for the right therapist. BetterHelp has been instrumental in easing the burden for millions, and maybe it can help you too. So you can grab 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/xbox2. Link will be in the description of the video. And a huge thank you to BetterHelp for sponsoring this episode of the Xbox 2. So thank you very much. And with that, we also need to give a big shout out to all the Patreons. And Jez, you got some of their shout outs here?
Let's do some shout outs. We've got, thanks to all the Patreons. And, it's thanks for rocking with us, whether you're, subscribing at $2 or $50, as it may be. Patreon shout-outs go to Foreign Object, Mythic Marty, Tyler, Gunstar75, Moronic Donkey 99, C Money, It's Firm 28, Macazilla, Stegs Man, Randolph 419. That always throws me every week. Silas, Eric Gregory, Elijah Vasquez, James Moore, Matt Salinas, Catriarchs, Ricky Felon, Nerdy Meathead, Bright Tundra 1, Jasper Shapp, Joseph Campbell, what? Jez's waifu body pillow. Oh man, someone keeps changing their name on the Patreon. Jezzy's waifu body pillow, Xbox International, Justin Duell, Frank Marino, P-Bro King, Justin Miller, Asa T and Madison, Untidy Tim, Grizzly Mofo OG, Governor Grimm, DZ Huffin, Justin Sago, Andrew Courtney, Woggerman Achievement, The Scarecrow 1-1, Darren Torpy, Professor JJJ, Butterball 8, Ghostface Killer, Wolfgang KPZ, and Ralph Wiggum. Thank you so much to everyone for your generous donations on our Patreon. It really does help, and it's going to maybe even help me even more in the coming months. Looking at the economy with a little bit of a nervous twitch right now. Actually, there's an extra Patreon shout out to do because someone just subscribed to the show as well. So thank you so much for that. I'm just going to, Ryan Kipple also subscribed. Thank you so much for that, mate. Really appreciate it. But if you subscribed really recently, actually, there's a few more here. CJAD93, Christian Tuttle, and Brady Farner as well. Thank you all so much for your generous donations and sponsorships. And Jezzy's waifu body pillow, Rand. Jezzy's waifu body pillow.
Indeed.
Everyone's idol says, "Who is Jezzy's waifu body pillow?" I need to know. I don't know, man. That sounds like a Patreon exclusive question to me.
And we still have the two podcasts coming. I think we have regular Xbox 2 Ultimate next week, probably on Tuesday. And then at the end of December, we'll have the next Xbox 2 plus 1 with a yet-to-be-determined guest or guests. So still got 2 more of those to come up for the rest of the month. So thank you to all the Patrons, and thank you to BetterHelp for, making this podcast go. And we got some super chats here before we get into all these crazy topics. I'm sure it's going to be a definite fun show. Price increase. But if you've been listening to the podcast, you know I have been saying forever that Xbox is going to increase the price right around when Starfield came out. And that's exactly what they're doing. So no surprise there. Punkadish, member for 20 months, has said, shout out to Rand Jez, best damn podcast on the net. Hope all is well, guys. All is well. We had a great weekend. Although my back kind of was hurting a little bit. But it only really hurt for like yesterday. Now it's kind of back to being fine. But that's what standing all day is going to do to you. I'm not really used to that. So I was just like, woke up Sunday and I'm like, oh my God, I think I twinned something in my back. It's just like, oh man, why did this happen? But anyways, we got a super chat here from Gunstar75 who says, if you decide to talk about the acquisition, which yes, we probably will at least mention some of the stuff that's going on because it's crazy. I don't know if you saw this, but Microsoft referred to Sony as Blockbuster and themselves as Netflix in one of the things that showed up today. I thought that was kind of funny.
Oh, snap. I actually did read that article, but I must have missed that bit.
Yeah. Brad Smith referred to Sony as Blockbuster. So It's kind of interesting. He wants to know what you would think Microsoft red lines would be in respect to any compromise agreements. P.S. Love you guys. That's actually a topic, Gunstar, because I saw Jez respond to Mr. Michael Pachter, who had an interesting thread about concessions that Microsoft might be willing to give up, all centered around like, okay, well, we'll keep all the Activision games on PlayStation, and not only that, but any games from Bethesda that have a link to PlayStation, like Elder Scrolls or Outer Worlds 2, those games will be on PlayStation 2. And Jez, you had some interesting things to say in your Twitter thread about that, so we'll be definitely talking about that a little bit later. Silver Fox, the Super Chat, says, hey guys, do you think Starfield will have blood and gore? Why has Todd and the team been so quiet on this? Yes, Jez, I did see your tweet about this. I think Colt made a video on Twitter that really blew up. There hasn't been any blood and gore, and, well, what do you think?
Oh man, I'm kind of nervous about this because, the reason I'm so like, I like having gore in games is because it gives your weapons a sense of impact and immersion and realism. If you hit a dude with a space shotgun at point blank range, I feel like there should be some blood. Call me crazy, Rand, but I feel like there should be some blood. And when there isn't blood, it's kind of like, I don't know. It's just sort of immersion busting. Someone said to me in that thread, they're like, "Hang on a sec, but don't you like Overwatch?" And it's like, yeah, but like Overwatch is like different because it's like a multiplayer game. And it's not really something I care to get immersed in per se. But like, I kind of have this sort of idea that Bethesda games are a little bit more realistic, aren't they? Generally, and that's the point of them, right? They're RPGs, and there's a couple of theories going around. One of them is that the gore was stripped back to get the performance in the vertical slice as good as possible. I think that's potentially possible. I think Mr. Matty Play suggested that. But the fact that they haven't mentioned it in any of the interviews kind of makes me think that it probably won't have strong gore. I don't know. Maybe they'll do sort of like light gore and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, but I don't know why they would do that because clearly it's going to have an 18 rating anyway. If it's got like all this, space drugs and piracy and God knows what else in it. But I don't know. It's maybe they can find the fun in other ways. Like I was watching the trailer back, and there's this part where like he hits a dude with a barrel, but the character's model just vanishes into thin air, and I just thought, like, if you watch it, he like shoots the jetpack and the guy flies up in the air, and then his character model just jarringly disappears. And I thought, like, oh man, that looks a bit weird. But I don't know. It was an old build. Hopefully, it's gonna look a little better. And there's we're gonna talk about that too, I suppose. Or actually, no, was that last week or the week before?
I don't know.
But Todd Howard did say in an interview recently that he's feeling the pressure of.
Yeah, he did say that.
He's feeling the pressure of the game being exclusive and basically having to carry Xbox on his back because Xbox hasn't released a game for a million years. That's up to snuff. So, yeah, it's definitely an interesting topic. Like, even if disregarding the gore, like, is the performance going to be there? Is the quality really going to be there? There's a big question mark over that, and because Microsoft generally has earned that reputation of you can't be fully excited because Xbox games often have these weird compromises revolving around them. So, just have to wait and see.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna have blood and gore. I think it's pretty apparent from the trailers. So I wouldn't count on it. But then again, I wasn't expecting it to have it, or at least I didn't think it would. But then again, I didn't play Fallout 4, which I guess does have blood and gore.
Oh, mountains!
So
you can like when you headshot someone in Fallout, fragments of their skull go flying around, and you can literally pick up their eyeball. And
maybe they're trying to go for a teen rating, perhaps, instead of a mature rating.
Oh, that'd be such a mistake.
I'm just saying, like,
I don't want another Halo game.
We've seen games do that, where they want to go for a kid-friendlier rating. So I guess we'll find out eventually. Face says, so I guess everyone will be okay with $70 game prices now. I suspect Game Pass will go up soon also. Yeah, I mean, people were fighting the good fight about $70 game prices, and it was only obviously going to be a matter of time before everybody else just went along and Xbox decided. I mean, like Phil literally said before the holiday started, we can't hold prices forever on our game subscription service and consoles. And people debated about what that meant, and if all three were going to, raise in price, or just a couple of them, or which ones would go up when. And we're not even like 2 weeks removed from Black Friday, where Xbox was selling the Series S for like $250 with a Target gift card of $50, or $250 with wireless headphones, or whatever sort of deals you could get on the Series S. And they're already talking about like, hey, we're raising the price next year, guys, even though we didn't bother releasing anything this year. We're raising the prices on the games up to $70. Which I think me and Jez will have a lot to say about this topic whenever we do get to it. But yes, let's see. We got super chat here from Smuzz246, who says, never get to catch the show live, but I never miss an episode. Glad I can catch you live today so I can finally show my support. Thanks for the great content. Well, thank you very much for your support, and thank you for being here. And the first time catching the show live, which is it's pretty amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of people that have never actually watched the show live. I do see this comment pop up quite often about like, hey, it's the first time I've catching the show live because, we have a lot of people that listen on iTunes and Spotify. And thank you for those of you who tagged me and Jez in the Spotify Wrapped thing. I don't use Spotify, so Spotify Wrapped is like, hey, this is what you listen to, and people were like, hey, thanks for all the hours of content. So it was nice to get tags from a whole bunch of people being like, Xbox 2 was our number one or in the top 5, and then get to see the other podcasts that we were with. So it's pretty humbling to see all the people that were tagging us in that. And if you can do us a favor, make sure you give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify, or 1-star review. It really does help out quite a bit. Adam F, member for 13 months, says, starting my Monday right with the Xbox 2 podcast. Love you guys. Rand, you look good, man. Hit that like, y'all. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I thought I did look pretty good. If I had to toot my own horn just a little bit, I was like, damn, I'm looking fresh this week, bro. I went and got my beard complete. Like, so I went to a place I'd never gone before. It was basically a barber. And I was like, let me try this place out. And normally, I've been going to this one place I've known for years. And I went at like 3 o'clock and they closed at 5. And the lady was like, I'm sorry, we're short-staffed. I don't have anybody that can take you. I'm like, you don't close for another 2 hours. And she's like, we just can't do it. And I'm just like, all right, whatever. So like, I want to get my hair cut, right? I was picking up my tux or my suit. So I looked on Google and I'm like, okay, what's the nearest one over here? And I was like, oh, there's a barber place a little bit down the road. I'm like, all right, let me go here. It got good reviews. I went in there and they're like, what do you want? I'm like, well, I need a haircut and a shave. And my beard was kind of getting long again. And I'm like, well, what do you want? What are you going to do to the beard? I'm like, just cut it off. And they're just like, you want to cut it off? Like, they were all just, the guy was just like, what? Like, you want to cut that off? Like, because it was long. And I was just like, yeah, I need to look good for my sister's wedding. So
you should have just had it trimmed, man.
But I got it cut off, but 5 o'clock shadow. And then for the first time in my life, the dude like leaned me back in the chair and just gave me a straight razor. Like, he just was like, I don't know, I've never had someone, do a straight razor to your beard. And then out of nowhere, Jez, like, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. It was like a $20 for the haircut and $20 for the shave. Then he was doing all this other stuff. He like shoved these 2 Q-tips with hot wax up my nose. And I'm like, what the I was not expecting. All of a sudden, it gets like jammed up my nose, and I'm like, what is this? Then he was taking like string and like diagonally like threading my eyebrows and stuff. That actually was. I'm like, what is going on here?
Oh my god! Rand got a makeover.
Whatever. I was just stunned. I was just like, all I wanted was a shave and my haircut, and here I'm getting like the full treatment, And I was just like, what the hell? Like this like hot wax in my nose. I didn't even know what was going on. The dude just like hold on, it was like right in my nose, and I'm like, what? I was like, what is this? Anyways,
oh my god! Manscaped has a nose trimmer.
Do they?
Weed Whacker 4.0. Get 10% off. Code XB2. 20% off. So, but yeah. Man, I haven't been to a barber since I was a little kid. I trim my own beard and I cut my own hair. When my ponytail gets too long, I just cut it off. Like, just cut a couple of inches off with some really sharp scissors. Maybe I should go as well. Maybe I should get a makeover. I've lost, since you were dying, I've lost 17 pounds as well. I was inspired by Rand. Although that is in light the fact that I did gain like 40 pounds last year, but I have lost in total 67 pounds, I guess, since I started trying to lose weight. Oh, it's such a battle. But hey,
it is.
We'll both get there, man. Both get there, and then we can be Manscaped models, as some people in the chat said.
Yeah. So I was like, everybody was like, yeah, man, you're looking good. I was like, I mean, yeah, I thought, I was looking all right. Kubini Gaming says the $70 price change will keep Game Pass at its current price. KS might have been a member for 20 months, says, I didn't look into it yet, but does being a member on YouTube give access to your Patreon? I remember hearing it before that you will try to make it happen. Yeah, me and Jez will have to sit down and figure that stuff out. We've just been kind of busy with this stuff. So we might, whatever like the $5 tier is, you might have access to that. We have to sit down and talk to that about
Yeah,
that
we
stuff.
need to figure that out. We'll figure it out.
Yes. So people are saying that it's normal. I'm like, okay, well, that was the first time I ever got it. So, anyways, let's well, I haven't been playing anything. I will say thank you to my buddy Maka91. Somerville won the poll for what people want to see for gameplay, but I had literally no time. I haven't turned on my Xbox since Wednesday. And so he let me record an hour of his full game walkthrough. So if you are looking to get all the achievements or all the collectibles in Somerville, make sure you use his guide. I'll have the video linked. This is his walkthrough because I know he's popping hot pink achievements. My achievements are blue. So, and I'm sure you guys can see the M91 in the corner. So the Somerville gameplay is his. I just I literally had no time to do anything this week. So, I know you did a little stream on your channel, Jez, for Callisto Protocol. I see the reviews are hit or miss. Some people really like it. Some people don't. It's kind of...
Yeah, I get it. I get why it's polarizing because when I first started playing the Callisto Protocol, I was like, what the is this? This is the worst dodge mechanic I've ever experienced in a game. It was just horrible, like so jarring. And it was like, but then it clicked.
Okay.
It clicked, Rand. And I was like, oh, actually, kind of like this combat system. The more I played it, the more I started getting into it. And the more I like pulled off a good strategy in a sort of combat situation, I was like, oh yeah, I get it. It feels kind of good. So I started getting into it. But I still get why it's so jarring. And do you know why it's so jarring?
Why?
I think it's because people are playing it with the mindset of this is Dead Space, but it's kind of like a more melee oriented Dead Space. Like if Dead Space was all about gunning and shooting stuff, this has a much bigger emphasis on scrapping and fighting, to like desperately fighting for your life, And I kind of get what they're getting at here. It's like the combat system constantly puts you on edge, right? Because you have to sort of like you have to hold the joystick left and right to dodge. And it for some reason it wants you to like alternate between left and right and backwards. Backwards is a block, I think. And then like you can dodge like side swipes with left and right, but you can't do two left dodges in a row. You have to do left and then right and then left and then right, which is a little bit odd. And like I don't know why they chose that, that sort of, because you wouldn't necessarily fight someone like that really in real life, or dodging left and right, like it's a boxing match with a zombie. But it's still really satisfying. When you land a hit, it's so crunchy and it's so satisfying. And the enemies sort of like, you peel off huge chunks of their skin until there's like just bits of bone and weird tentacles left. And, you can pick up enemies and throw them into environmental hazards and stuff. You have to use the environment to your advantage as much as possible. Like when you go into a combat situation, it's like, okay, where are my environmental hazards? Where are my canisters I can blow up? Where am I going to run to if I get surrounded? That kind of thing, right? So when I started playing it a little bit more strategically, I just started getting really into it, and then I just started really enjoying it, actually. But I can completely see why some people hate it, because it feels wrong. It really does feel wrong when you first start playing it. It's like it goes against every instinct you've ever had playing this kind of game. Like where's my just press button to dodge? Which is like the baseline system in every single game, from Dark Souls to The Witcher to God of War, whatever. There's a dodge button. It's not a hold a joystick to dodge. It's odd. And I can see why some people don't like that. But if you are the kind of person who's willing to adjust and accept a game for what it is, I think you might like it. I really like it, man. I like it for the same reasons I kind of like The Evil Within, where it's like you sort of have to approach each combat situation with a bit of thoughtfulness. You know, you can't just like go run and gun and kill everything because there's not enough ammo to do that, or your weapons just aren't that effective. Like maybe it's more effective to try and get as many stealth kills as possible. Maybe it's effective to lure enemies into a canister and blow it up. You know, in any one situation, the game gives you the tools for this kind of stuff, right? So if you're willing to put a little bit of thought into it, you know, every time you go into a combat arena, because they are like arenas, you know, there's spikes on the wall, there's canisters you can use, the different kind of enemies have different kind of tactics involved, and you know, if you do get surrounded, it's really frustrating because there's like there's no lock-on mechanic. The game tries to predict what you're trying to hit to some degree, which is really annoying. I just wish it was like a little bit more intuitive. But at the same time, if you adapt to it and adapt to its jankiness in that context, you might enjoy it. You might end up loving it. I really like it. That being said, I wouldn't recommend it at full price. No, I would not recommend it at full price because it's still quite rough. Performance mode is iffy. The Xbox version is missing ray trace reflections due to wrong file being uploaded, apparently, according to Twitter. So there's lots of weird stuff that just doesn't justify its full price, I don't think. So I would say if you're really into horror games, if you like The Evil Within especially, which I kind of feel this riffs on more than Dead Space for me, get in the sale. Get in the sale if you're into it. But yeah, I wouldn't feel confident to recommend it at full price. But it's pretty good. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. I quite like it. But yeah, that's pretty much all I've been playing this week was Callisto Protocol and also World of Warcraft Dragonflight, which I know you don't want to hear about.
Nobody cares about Dragonflight. Nobody cares about World of Warcraft.
It's doing pretty well on Twitch, Rand. Maybe we should care about World of Warcraft. It's a trending trend. Dude, what are you talking about? It's like in the top 10 games on Twitch or top 5 or something.
Who cares?
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Man, you're just the Philistine. You're just the Philistine, man.
No, we'll talk about games that are actually been released this this millennia.
Hello. Well, that's it. That's it for the games we've been playing this week. Should we get into some topics? Run on.
Yeah.
We have more super chats.
I mean, because I really want to get to Callisto Protocol because I've been looking forward to it, and it's like seeing the people talk about it, where some people really like it, and then some people are disappointed, and I'm just like, I don't know what to expect with this game. Yeah. I mean, all the trailers and people saying it does look amazing, but there's just something weird about the combat and the melee. And then, like you got EA out here about the pounds dropping Dead Space gameplay, smelling blood in the water.
I think this is one of the issues the game has. It looks so much like Dead Space, intentionally so, but it's really not Dead Space. It's really not Dead Space. Like it's way more melee oriented than Dead Space. And I think like I went in expecting Dead Space, and it just isn't Dead Space. And then I started playing it a bit more like The Evil Within, and I like The Evil Within, and I started enjoying it. So, but there is one thing I'll say, which some people in chat are bringing up. It's not scary.
It's not
scary at all. No, there's just no fear factor at all. There's nothing creepy about it because it is so combat oriented, right? To the point of being scripted almost. It's like you go into an area and this is a combat arena. It's not like a explorative survival horror kind of game. It's like this is the next bit of combat I've got to do. There, like you can just tell that the combat is going to happen because there's hazards everywhere, right? So it's more like a horror themed melee action game. I would describe it as. It's nowhere near as scary as Dead Space or Resident Evil, even. Or Resident Evil 8 is like 1,000 times scarier than Callisto Protocol, and Resident Evil 8 isn't even that scary. It doesn't even really do jump scares. And Dover says, "What if it is scary?" And Jez just has big balls thanks to Manscaped. I don't know, man. I'm not like I'm pretty squeamish, you know. I can get like immersed in games and then start scaring myself when I play them. I thought Resident Evil 8 was quite scary. People who know Resident Evil 8, that particular house in Resident Evil 8, I thought was absolutely terrifying. You know, Silent Hill. I have nightmares about Silent Hill to this day. You know, so there's all that kind of stuff, but he's quite linear, which I think stops it from being scary because there's no like there's no sense of like I don't know. There's no real risk, kind of, and there's checkpoints constantly. Every combat area has a checkpoint ahead of it, so there's no sense of like, oh god, I've got to backtrack through this area now. That's really scary or whatever. Like God knows what new horrors are going to come out of the vents or whatever. There's nothing like that in it. It's very linear and yeah, but I still appreciate it for what it is, you know. So yeah, it's predictable.
Yeah. Well, I'll give my thoughts next week, or rather this week, because I'm assuming we're gonna have a show later in the week, whether on Friday or Saturday. Mm-hmm. So hopefully I can. Well, I don't know because my family is gonna be here all week, so I don't know how much gaming I'll actually be able to get done. But I want to be able to finish it, so I'm looking forward to it. But we got a super chat here from Flame saying, "Guys, Xbox raid prices, the horror, the shame." Indeed, they did. We definitely have. I have some thoughts on it personally. But first, now we're getting into the topics. Please do us a favor, guys. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. If you're new, we only need like 300 more subs until 90K. Hopefully, I can hit 90K by the end of the year, which is only not that many days away, and then onwards to 100K in camera, I guess. So we did see something that happened today. Looks like Star Wars Jedi Survivor on its Steam page had its release date for like the 12th, I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. Of March, yeah. Really early March, which is, dude, the early 2023 is stacked, bro. It's freaking stacked. You got like Dead Space, you got Persona 4 and Persona 3, you have Harry Potter, you have just off the top of my head, what else? Jez's Monster Hunter Rise. Monster Hunter, yeah. You got Resident Evil. Now you got like Jedi Survivor. Redfall's probably coming around March and February. I'm trying to even think what other games are coming in that time frame. I know Dead Island recently got delayed from February to April, but there are a ton of games releasing in the beginning of this year. So I personally, like, if I had to sit down here now knowing like, okay, what is your most anticipated game for 2023, right? That we know of. Star Wars Jedi Survivor is probably one or two, maybe definitely top three. I'm trying to think. It would be probably maybe even number one, bro. That's how much I really liked Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. That, like, Jedi Survivor, I am really looking forward to this. And yeah, I'm trying to think, like, out of the games that we know are next year, it might be really number one. It might be.
Are you lukewarm on Starfield then?
No, I'm not lukewarm. I'm not lukewarm on Starfield. Starfield still would be top 5. I'm just, I know me and I know my taste. I'm just saying Star Wars Jedi Survivor is going to hit harder for me than Starfield would. So that's why I have it rated. I would have it like higher than Starfield, even though the thing with Starfield is the sci-fi is what's selling me on Starfield. Like I love sci-fi stuff. That's really appeals to me. If this was Fallout 5, I probably would be less excited because I'm not the biggest fan of Fallout. I do love me some Elder Scrolls. I'm not really a Fallout fan.
That's fair.
But I am an Elder Scrolls fan. So like the sci-fi stuff is, and I love sci-fi. I just got done reading a sci-fi book. So like I'm like very much into that. So I'm super excited for Jedi Survivor. I'm trying to think, like I'm picturing in my head the other games coming out this this year, and I don't think right now, unless Hellblade 2 comes out and gets announced, like that would be number one. I don't think there's any game that would take that spot.
On WindowsCentral.com, there's a really great article called "Upcoming Xbox Games," which has a list of all the games that are on the way. So if I scroll down a bit, the next batch of games, High on Life's coming out.
High on Life, yeah, that comes out on the 12th. I'm looking forward to that. I love me some Rick and Morty. I think hopefully, got my fingers crossed that the game's good. Got my fingers crossed.
There's also that Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn.
That looks
coming
cool.
out from Aurora 44, who made Ashen. That's coming out next year.
Yep. Atomic Heart is also coming out on the 21st of February, which is a Game Pass day one. I think IGN just had some previews, and they seem pretty positive. The trailers have been pretty good, so that's definitely something I'm going to be there day one for.
And we've got Warhammer Dark Tide's Xbox version, which is kind of getting some sort of mixed reviews at the minute because of its performance issues on PC, but hopefully those will be ironed out later on. You got the Dead Space remake in January.
Yep.
Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition for
Persona
Xbox.
4 and Persona 3, I think on the 19th.
Dead Island 2.
That's on game February 28th, I believe, or April 28th?
3rd, according to this.
Oh, 23rd,
okay. Wild Hearts, which is that Dynasty Warriors style Monster Hunter Koei Tecmo.
Yeah, it's EA's and Koei Tecmo's version of Monster Hunter going up against Monster Hunter on Xbox and PlayStation. That's an interesting fight.
I'm really excited for that, actually. I think it looks really good. And Koei Tecmo is really cool, but they've never really made a game that sort of my genre, and this is perfect. So yeah, I'm really gonna give that game the benefit of the doubt. You got Destiny expansion, Destiny Lightfall, Like a Dragon.
Cognito cares, but nobody else. Whatever. Who cares about? I mean, the trailer did look good, but I couldn't care less about Destiny.
Here's one for you: Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Yeah, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. I believe that's very beginning of March, right?
Yep. Yeah.
That's also Game Pass day one.
Skull and Bones.
Well, I'm so excited for Skull and Bones.
I'm giving that game the benefit of the doubt because I'm hoping
giving a Ubisoft game. Ubisoft.
Yes,
you're giving.
Yes. Do you know why? Because hopefully it's going to be a little bit more innovative, and I'm really rooting for Ubisoft to make something new. And if that's the PvE Sea of Thieves of my dreams, then I'm on board with it. So I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful for that game. We've also got Resident Evil 4, March 24th.
Yeah. Liza P as well, right? At some point.
Oh, is that next year? Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure Liza P is 2023. I'm not sure the date of when it comes out. I think Street Fighter 6 is early next year, too.
Yeah. We've also got Amnesia: The Bunker, which is the first Amnesia game where you get a gun. So that's supposed.
I've never played an Amnesia game, by the way.
Oh man! So now, when we talk about games that actually are scary, Amnesia is incredibly terrifying.
Amnesia is made by Frictional Games, right?
Yes.
So I've never played Amnesia, the original 3 Amnesia games, and then there was the newer one, Rebirth, that came out.
Soma.
But I played Soma, but Soma's got nothing to do with Amnesia. I love Soma. It's fantastic. I don't know. It's weird. So I played that one, but I've never played the Amnesia games.
You should try it, man. They released Amnesia Dark Descent recently on Xbox. Purely from the perspective of atmosphere, it really holds up. The graphics are getting a bit long in the tooth, but I always get to the same place in that game. The bit with the invisible monster in the water, and I just nope out of it. Every single time. Those games are horrifying, man. Absolutely horrifying. And they sort of coined the genre, the whole it's a survival horror, but you don't have a gun, or you don't have any means to fight back. They sort of coined that whole genre, There's also The Last Case of Benedict Fox, which is supposedly spring 2023, which is that Metroidvania game.
Looks really cool.
At the Xbox. Valheim, the Xbox version, is also coming in spring 23. Absurd amount of games. And then you've got games which don't have a launch date, which are pretty interesting, like Aliens Dark Descent, I'm totally on board for a isometric aliens game. I think that looks great. Age of Empires 4 for Xbox. I'm intrigued how that's going to work on console. Assassin's Creed Mirage.
It's supposed to be more of a summer game.
Yeah,
Alan Wake
true
2.
Assassin's Creed.
Alan Wake 2 is
Alan
next
Wake
year.
2, yes.
But that's probably end of the year, I would imagine. Oh yeah, Alan Wake 2. Alan Wake 2 is probably
Alan Wake 2.
It would be it would probably be Star Wars Jedi Survivor 1 and then Alan Wake 2 2 for me.
There's also there's a lot of interesting indie games on the horizon as well, like Demon School, which looks like a sort of Final Fantasy Tactics meets Dark Souls almost. It's really cool art. There's Dredge, which is like a horror fishing game. I'm so totally into that. Ayuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, another JRPG. It looks really, really cool and quite interesting. And then you've got stuff like the Exoprimal, the dinosaurs Overwatch kind of weird game from Capcom, and Forza Motorsport. And then we start getting out later into the year, like Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game. I forgot that was happening. Like a Dragon Gaiden. Man, there's just loads of stuff here in this list that I've not even heard of that look kind of interesting. Miasma Chronicles, I don't know what that is. Minecraft Legends, that looks pretty cool. Nino Kuni 2 is confirmed for Xbox as well. There's just there's loads of stuff in this list.
Yeah.
Loads and loads of stuff.
It's going to be a big year. Yeah. It's going to be a big year, but we're all just waiting on to see what Xbox is going to drop. So, yeah, we do. There is a little bit of, I mean, Game Pass also kind of had a big week. Like we mentioned, you were super excited that Monster Hunter Rise is finally making its way to Xbox and PlayStation, but it's coming day one on Game Pass, which was out of nowhere. Amazing. It doesn't launch with the expansion. Was that Sunreach or something?
I can't remember. Sunbreak.
Sunbreak. Like yeah, there's an expansion that comes a little bit later in the year. But yeah, how are you feeling personally about Monster Hunter Rise, that Switch exclusive, coming over to Xbox relatively soon? I think it's January 20th.
Yeah, it's
day one on Game Pass. That had to have been a really cool announcement for you.
It was amazing. I'm really glad that Rise is coming to console, or rather away from Nintendo Switch, because I can't play Monster Hunter like that anymore. It's too damn. I mean, to be fair, it's one of the better running Switch games. Like the optimization Capcom put through for the Nintendo Switch is amazing. It's probably one of the best optimized open world games on the Nintendo Switch, and it's a testament to Capcom's skill and technical prowess. But still, I don't want to play a game like that at anything less than 60 frames now. So I'm really glad this coming to Xbox Series X, especially on Xbox Game Pass as well. But that's a game that I'll buy outright. Like, even though I've got Game Pass, just because I want to support the franchise, I want to support the devs, and I'll buy it outright.
A little bit of news on that, by the way. Capcom has confirmed that Monster Hunter Rise for PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PS4, and Xbox One will be digital only, so no physical version.
Oh, that's interesting. That is very interesting. I wonder how many more games we're going to see doing that from like the big publishers in the coming years. I'm kind of sad though, Rand, that there's no Monster Hunter Stories been announced, because that's the perfect game for xCloud. It's turn-based. It's like Pokemon, but better than Pokemon. Frankly. So that's kind of sad that that's not coming across from PC and the Switch, but who knows? Maybe it will eventually. I'm pretty excited for that. That's kind of saved my quarter. Black John says, I'm lukewarm on Monster Hunter Rise because there's no cross progression or crossplay. There is cross progression with the Xbox Game Pass version. So if you play the Xbox Game Pass version on PC, that will bring across your progression from Xbox, because it's also around Xbox Play Anywhere.
Is it?
So it's Xbox Play Anywhere and it's Xbox Game Pass, which is wild. So yeah, it's cross versions, cross play with Xbox Play Anywhere, which is cool for me because it means I can bring my Xbox version across onto my laptop if I fancy it. But yeah, but Rand, should we get in some topics, buddy?
I mean, we kind of are, but yeah, I was, the Monster Hunter Rise thing. They also announced Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga for Game Pass, which I believe is coming to tomorrow. Which it's one of the best-selling games of the year.
Oh, this is a
And
topic. Sorry,
well, it is a topic. We're in the topics, Jez. And
okay.
considering that Xbox might have had a pretty significant Black Friday, which they may or may not have been a victor or winner over PlayStation, doubtful to Switch. Because like Adobe said that the Series X is one of the most sought after pieces of hardware or toys on Black Friday. So, I mean, they were selling the Series S for an insane price, and you can't really beat $250 for a next gen machine. So
True.
I could, Xbox might have sold the most on Black Friday, and then you combine that with Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga coming to Game Pass. So if you bought that for a family member or for a young kid or something, you got Game Pass, you got Lego Star Wars right there ready to go. I mean, that seems to be a pretty big get. Like, I'm not interested in Lego Star Wars. I've been over my whole Lego phase. I used to play every single one of them for achievements back in the day. And then I just eventually was like, I've had my fill of it. But, I mean, people say this one's really good. It's got all the Lego, it's got all the Star Wars movies in it. And I think it's like the perfect time to drop that into Game Pass. So, yeah, I don't know. You were mentioning all the games coming early next year. A lot of them are coming to Game Pass on day one. Not to mention like Xbox's own first party titles. It's like, I don't know, man. Could 2023 be the breakout year for Game Pass as well as Xbox first party studios? I mean, we kind of hope it will be. Definitely,
it's going to be wild.
Trending in that direction, right?
Yeah, it's going to be wild. Like if we get Diablo, Call of Duty, and everything into Game Pass by the end of the year, Microsoft's going to have a monster quarter three.
And what was the Tom Henderson had some info about Diablo 4, right? That what was it? Open beta coming soon.
That was my info, man.
Well, he wrote the article about it. I didn't see an article from Jez.
Well, that's because you didn't read it. I wrote that article last month. Okay. Last month, I wrote an article saying there'd be an open beta announced at the Game Awards, and pre-orders get early access to the beta. Thank you very much, Rand.
Okay.
That was my leak, and but what Thomas Henderson, what was his info? Thomas Henderson revealed that there's a preview embargo lifting this week before the Game Awards. So there are journalists and influencers who've been hands-on with the game, and I've spoken to a lot of them, and it just sounds amazing.
Wait. So you weren't invited to this?
No, of course I weren't. Of course I weren't invited.
How come you weren't invited?
Blizzard doesn't like me, man. They don't like me.
You couldn't send a nice word to your buddy Mike Ybarra? Be like, Mike, what's going on, buddy?
I think dealing with little journalists like me is a bit below Mike's remit these days. But yeah, we weren't invited, sadly. But I don't care because I'm definitely buying that game. Diablo is like one of my favorite franchises of all time, and there's absolutely nothing Blizzard can do to stop me playing that game when it comes out. But yeah, there should be a preview embargo. That's what Tom Henderson leaked, and by all accounts, it sounds pretty damn amazing. Most of the outlets and major YouTubers that you like will have stuff up for it, except for me. So yeah, watch out for that.
Release date
7th, I think.
Possibly not being April, maybe possibly being June, maybe.
Oh yeah, so what I leaked last month was that the beta would be going live in February and the game would be going live in April, and I've got a document to that effect. The document is admittedly old. I think the documents are from the start of the summer. So it seems like they were targeting February for the beta and April for launch, but it sounds like that could have both shifted 2 months. So now it's looking like June for launch and maybe April for the beta, but I'm still not 100% on that because my information's a little bit out of date. But what we are going to find out for definite is pre-orders at the Game Awards collector's edition, which has some kind of lantern or a candle in it. Sounds really cool. But we'll have to wait and see exactly what it is because I'm not entirely sure what it is. It's like a candle or a lantern, the collector's edition, and also, they'll talk about the pre-orders, giving you early access to the open beta. So there'll be like early access to the open beta, and then there'll be some like an open beta that people can join. I suppose they'll stress test the servers and that kind of thing. It should be all good. Maybe it'll be in February, maybe it'll be in April if the monthly shift has occurred, as some rumors seem to suggest.
Well, if it does come out in June, that does give it a better chance of maybe being on day one on Game Pass if the acquisition gets done by then.
Yeah,
April was sort of pushing it, but June's, there's a possibility. We do have a.
I was just going to say, if I was Microsoft, I'd make sure that Diablo 4 has touch controls for xCloud on day 0. Like it needs to have that shit ready, because Diablo 4 will absolutely blow up cloud gaming. It's like the perfect game for cloud gaming, and it's the perfect game for touch controls. Like if you play like Diablo Immortal, as horrible as it is as a gambling casino machine, it plays so damn well with the touch controls. It's just like the perfect game for touch, and that will be a huge killer app for xCloud, I think.
I mean, I just hope it's a great game, but you could be right.
I know it's going to be a great game, so I'm not worried about that. But
only you would be looking forward to playing that on touchscreen and streaming. Everybody else,
I don't know, man.
Playing on PC or playing on console or TV. But you're like, no, I want it cloud streaming. I want it. Andre has been a member for 6 months. Says, do you guys think we'll ever have cloud gaming for PC Game Pass one day? I'd love to stream you some Death Stranding. Have a nice week and go Brazil. I'm assuming the World Cup or whatever the hell it is, whatever soccer tournament's still going on, right? Is that still a thing?
Yes, it's still a thing.
Okay, so who's winning the little soccer tourney?
Little soccer tourney?
Who's winning?
It's like the biggest sport in the world, mate. Nobody's winning right now.
Nobody's winning?
It's the knockout stages.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you who's lost. A bunch of people have lost.
England? They lost to the U.S., right?
No, they drew.
That's a loss for you guys.
Yeah, kind of. But we'll see what happens next time, mate. If America doesn't get knocked out before then.
First question, do you guys think cloud gaming for PC Game Pass? Or is that something that I don't know. Is that something that's going to happen?
It's an interesting question. I've been playing NVIDIA GeForce Now recently, testing that out, and it's mind-blowing, actually. It just feels completely native. I can see why people say GeForce Now is the market leader. I never really tried it before, and I didn't really have access. But I'm reviewing a laptop right now, which is designed for cloud gaming, apparently. And GeForce Now is like one of the platforms that comes with it. It's a Chromebook, so you can't play games natively. You have to use cloud. And xCloud and GeForce Now is on there, and GeForce Now is like, it's nuts. It's crazy. It's magic. It's wizardry. God knows how they do it. It's just mind blowing. It truly is mind blowing. So Microsoft has to be looking at how it can leverage that kind of technology for the PC stuff, but it's really hard to say, because that's like they're already still investing in the console stuff. Investing in a PC cloud, that's going to be a whole other kettle of fish, right? I think I would rather see Microsoft do some kind of deal with NVIDIA for that. I think. Jedi J Goley says, Jez, what's internet speeds in Germany like? Well, we have 1 gigabyte down, right, where I am right now, but we don't get those speeds because we're on ADSL. So the pipe is 1 gigabyte down, but my laptop right now is getting 500 meg down. So I have pretty good internet, where I am right now. So I need to throttle my internet to like give it a test in more like sort of average American internet speeds. So now America has a different situation when it comes to internet speeds, right? But yeah, I have pretty good internet and it's flawless for me. But the idea is that everyone eventually will have, better internet over time. That's the hope, at least. So yeah, I guess just have to wait and see on that.
RDX Son of Fett says Xbox can raise game prices. I got Game Pass. And Michael G says, Jez, do you think or know that Xbox will include game chat when recording video clips on Xbox?
I often see this request, but I'm not sure if that's possible because of how the Xbox console operating system is siloed. I don't know if the capture system has access to the system where the party chat sits, because it's like it uses hypervisor, right? Hypervisor, kind of like a system that bridges two instances of one operating system or something. I don't really understand hypervisor, not gonna lie. But the way it works with the Xbox is there's not one operating system. There's like two operating systems or three operating systems. There's like an operating system where your games run. There's an operating system where the apps and the operating system, the dashboard lives. That's a separate operating system. And there's an operating system which lets them communicate between the two or something, as I understand it, or at least that's how it used to be or something. So, like, does the capture system have access to that data? I don't know. That's something I'd need to bring to a Microsoft engineer to ask them. But I hear that a lot, that people want to be able to hear their voice clips in their clips. Because if you're playing a game like, I don't know, PUBG or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, sometimes the thing you want to clip is the cool reactions from your friends, right? And you can't do that on Xbox right now. Maybe it's something that they're working on, but one thing I'm going to do towards the end of the year, Rand, I'm going to put out a survey for Xbox community. And I did this last year, if you remember. I'll put out a survey asking people what they want to see most from Xbox. And then in January, we'll publish the results of that survey. So if you do have feedback for Xbox, I'll put that survey out on Windows Central soon, and you guys can check it out and drop it in there. We'll see what we can do.
Yeah.
Rand?
Yes.
So?
Nothing. I'm just, people are DMing me something about some exclusive from New York Times saying that 300 workers at ZeniMax Media, a Microsoft owner parent company of gaming studios like Bethesda, are voting on unionizing with Code CWA. This would be the biggest U.S. gaming union and a first for Microsoft, which says it will stay neutral.
Yeah, I did start seeing that on Twitter. So, yeah, Microsoft's kind of like, they're kind of painting themselves in a corner with this unionization stuff. And like, obviously I'm pro-union because I'm not a billionaire. I think anyone who's not a millionaire has no business not being pro-union. But Microsoft's kind of like, they've come out very strongly in support of unions as part of its arguments for the acquisition, right?
Mm-hmm.
They never used to be so pro-union. This has all come about kind of recently since they started acquiring people. They said that they'd recognize Raven Software's QA union, for example, if they did acquire Activision Blizzard. Activision itself is not very pro-union. They do a lot of work to try and bust unions and stop unions from happening. And the whole tech industry is generally anti-union. Microsoft's like an outlier. And like you have to wonder, like, are they doing it altruistically, or is it because they think it'll help their arguments with regulators? You don't really know. So that is an interesting development. We'll have to see where it goes. Rand, we talked about you were in a union, weren't you?
I was years ago. Yeah.
What was it called?
I mean, I was. I think.
You didn't want to say, right?
I don't remember. Dude. It's been like 20 years or whatever. It's been a long time
40
since
years.
I was in it.
45 years. Wow, that's crazy. It's a long time.
45 years, huh?
65 years.
So, Jez, we did get some Well, oh, you know what? Interesting here. You wrote an article about Xbox Achievement System that they were changing at Hackathon, or at least doing at Hackathon.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is interesting, but it doesn't really mean anything's going to happen.
I would imagine nothing is going to happen from this. I only put it in here because I was like, this is somewhat interesting, but I think this goes absolutely nowhere. Maybe it's not even worth talking about. I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We can talk about it. I think the point is that there is a desire for this to happen, whether it's an Xbox fan, because ultimately what happened here is that a bunch of Xbox fans within Microsoft decided that they were going to do what Microsoft isn't doing, And every year, Microsoft has a hackathon event where all the developers across its entire company globally basically make inventions for a couple of months. And then they present their inventions, and then Microsoft sort of awards the inventions, right? I can't remember. I think what won the prize was like an accessibility tool, but one of the hackathon projects was this idea of achievements 3.0, I think they called it, where it was like alongside your gamer score, you'd also get medals. So it was like gamer score and trophies combined. So like, but the trophies wouldn't just be for games; it'd be for like career level stuff. So it'd be like you get a silver trophy for playing 300 games, for example, or you get a gold trophy for putting 1,000 hours into Halo Infinite, for example. So it was kind of like milestones more than like, collect 10 things in a game, which would be what gamer scores for. But this is more like milestones. But yeah, it's just a hackathon project. Probably isn't going to become anything real. But I wanted to highlight it, Rand, because I know you and other achievement fans think the achievement system sucks, right?
Well, no, I don't think it sucks. I think.
Well,
I think
stagnant.
it needs a revamp.
That means you think it sucks. If it needs a revamp, surely.
It's been the exact same since 2005. It needs a revamp.
Okay. It's stagnant. You think it's stagnant?
It is 100% stagnant.
So that's why I wanted to cover it. I wanted to highlight the fact that it is stagnant and that they could do more with it. And I'll put that in the survey. Do people in chat want to see more achievement systems? I don't know. Maybe it's just maybe people think it's a waste of money or investment. But I think I thought it was interesting, so that's why I covered it.
Yeah. No. Okay. You know what? Let's talk about this price increase, shall we?
Price increase.
Yeah, the price increase. So this is what Xbox had to say, because I think they talked to you and IGN and everybody. Like, what did Windows Central report, Jez? What was your article?
Okay, so this was reported by Samuel Talbot, and basically, Microsoft announced today that they are finally following through with the sort of inflationary game prices, and from 2023, the top end full priced game will come in at $70 USD, and I suppose they'll match that across each country with different purchasing power. So like in the UK it'll be $49.99, in Canada I think it's $89.99 or something, and in Australia where Special Nick lives it'll be like 1,000 kangaroo dollars or dollaroos or whatever. So but this is the exact quote from Microsoft. "We've held on price increases until after the holidays so family can enjoy the gift of gaming. However, starting in 2023, our new built-for next-gen full-price games, including Forza Motorsport, Redfall, and Starfield, will launch at $70 on all platforms. This price reflects the content scale and technical complexity of these titles. As with all games developed by our teams at Xbox, they will also be available with Game Pass at the same time they launch," a Microsoft spokesperson. So that begs the question, like, if they're talking about built for next-gen games, are they talking about, like, Minecraft Legends? Because I'm pretty sure that's coming to Xbox One as well, right? So if it's coming to Xbox One, then
I would imagine. Minecraft Dungeons wasn't full price, so no, I can't imagine Minecraft Legends is full price either. So,
right. the thing about this is like a lot of people are mad about it, but at the same time, it's kind of like Game Pass. I mean,
Sure.
Game Pass, and I'm pretty sure, Rand, there's a podcast ages ago where we said Starfield could be the first $70 Xbox game.
I've been saying that for like over a year now. Even when Phil said in October that, what did he say in October? He said, we've held price in our console, we've held price in our games and our subscriptions. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I think at some point we have to raise some prices on certain things. I said the number one thing that would go up would be the price of the games first. And because I've been thinking like Starfield's going to be like the first one to be 70. Granted, it's most likely going to be Redfall because I think that one comes out first. But I've been expecting this for quite some time. It was only a matter of time before they would follow industry trends, whether it's through political pressure, right, behind the scenes, because you have a lot of the publishers doing $70 games, but then some of them are still at 60. Right now you have Microsoft being like, all right, we're going to go to 70, so that's probably also going to put the onus on Ubisoft and some of the other ones who are still doing 60 to, all right, let's just get everybody at 70. Nintendo's off in their own world. They're still selling, Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey for $60 now, 5 years later, and I'm sure they could raise prices too, and be perfectly okay. Look, here's the thing. I didn't complain about the $70 price increase that Sony was doing because I always say, like, the value subjected to every person, right? If you think it's worth it and you want to pay for it, then who am I to say that it's not? However, we also live in an era where both Microsoft and Sony are constantly bragging about how they're making record profits every single year, every single quarter. Right? Oh my God, we're making so much money. So much money. We've never made so much money before in our entire company history. And I'm specifically talking just about PlayStation and Xbox, not like Microsoft and Sony. And then it's like, but we also have to raise the prices on our games. $70 for Sony, $70 for Xbox. Right? And then they didn't even use the excuse of inflation in their reasoning why. It wasn't like, hey, games cost more to make, or we're really going through a period of rising costs or whatever. They used, what did they say? The price reflects the content, scale, and technical complexity of these titles, which I honestly think that's a lame-ass excuse, personally.
They haven't really proven
that's the thing.
That any of those games are.
Here's the thing. I don't think anybody who's released a $70 game this generation has proven that it's worth the extra $10 because they honestly just look like way better Xbox One titles. And that goes for all the games I purchased on the PlayStation, from God of War Ragnarok to Returnal to Ratchet and Clank to Demon Souls or what have you. Like, playing that, I'm thinking to myself, why is this $70? And I've said that playing through all the other games. It's like, Gotham Knights is $70. Why? I don't see a reason why. And now we have Xbox doing it off of the back of their worst first-party year ever, where they didn't really bother to release anything. And like, you look at the timing of this, like, that's the other thing I look at. Why today? December 5th. Why today? You didn't bother releasing any games at all this year, which is obviously a little hyperbolic because they did release something like Pentiment, but that wasn't a full price release. It was a $20 release. You finally put out Grounded after 2 years of early access, and I think that is $40, so still not even a full price release. And As Dusk Falls, I also believe wasn't full price, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong on that one. So you didn't even release any full price games this year, and you just released this. So my first thought was, why today? And I think it might be, Jez, because the Game Awards are on Friday, right? We don't know what to expect. Last year, me and you both knew Hellblade was going to be at the Game Awards for months. Remember? Like, we've been saying Hellblade's like confirmed. We had like behind the scenes info that Hellblade was going to be there, and we knew it was going to be there, and we'd known it for months, right? This time, nothing. I don't know anything about the Game Awards. I don't know what's going to be there. Xbox might have stuff. They might not have stuff, judging on based on your rumors or whatever. So I don't know what to expect. My expectation, though, was, okay, Redfall's coming out soon. So's Starfield. So's Forza. Something's got to show up at the Game Awards. Most likely Redfall. So my first thought when I saw this today on a random Monday, because this would normally you would want to bury this on a Friday. You'd want to just, here's this information about us raising game prices, which isn't a good thing. We're going to bury it on a Friday and every people forget about it. Obviously, you can't really bury it this Friday because of the Game Awards, or, day after. So my first thought was, maybe they're doing it this week because they're dropping release dates for Starfield and Redfall and opening up pre-orders, and they need to explain why suddenly Redfall and Starfield are pre-orderable at $70.
Yeah.
That was my first thought. My first thought was, okay, they need to get out in front of this because at some point you need to pre-order these games and they're going to be $70. My other second thought was, man, wouldn't it be nice to actually like pair this announcement with something brand new from first party? Or some new announcement or some new trailer or some like new marketing hype where you're like, hey, look at this something brand new from Redfall. Look at this something brand new from Starfield, or look at Forza Motorsport, and look at this brand new game that we're announcing now, and then also announce the price increase alongside new announcements from first party instead of these older games that you've had announced for a while to kind of wash the bad taste of a price increase down your throat. Right? That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, wouldn't it have been better to like pair this with something brand new, or at least something new, period?
Well, one thing I did notice was they released this information at the same time, or they sandwiched it between the Communication Workers Alliance statement about them supporting Activision. Then they released the price hike information via IGN.
Right.
And then they posted an op-ed in Wall Street Journal about Activision Blizzard again. So this news kind of got sandwiched by anyone who was covering Xbox news at the time.
I don't think it got sandwiched, Jez. My whole timeline.
I can see from our traffic that it got sandwiched.
Oh, well. Maybe that's just Windows Central.
Yeah, maybe it is. But they had the discussions must have been made to release that information in that order, right?
Sure.
I mean, they released all that news at the same time, But at the same time, I think like that makes sense to suggest that, if you are going to start talking about $70 games, chances are you've got a $70 game to show off pretty soon, right? Maybe.
You would hope so.
You would hope so.
Or else you wouldn't make this announcement until you were closer to showing something else. Like, why not wait to make this announcement until next year when you're closer to the release of Redfall? Or, as my buddy Everborn Saga DM'd me earlier with the conspiracy theory saying, hey, well, the CMA and the FTC and the EU can't say that you're raising prices because of Activision Blizzard if you already raise your prices beforehand. Right?
Right, yeah.
So there is that. I just, like I said, man, like, this was a long time coming, in my opinion. I could see it from a mile away. You can say that some of this is kind of negated by Xbox Game Pass and how incredible the value is. We talked a little bit earlier about all the games coming early this year and how a lot of them are on Game Pass, and Redfall and Forza and Starfield, even though they're raising the price to $70, they're still day one on Game Pass. They made to make sure. So you can look at it as like, hey, this just increases the value of Game Pass because now the individual titles are now $10 more expensive. And as of right now, Jez, even though Phil mentioned, and I'll reiterate it, He said, in October, we've held price on our console, we've held price on our games, and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things. Now, yep. Phil hints at stuff, whether it's his shelf, things he says, you got to read in between the lines, right? So out of the three things he's talked about, console, games, subscription, one of them's already going up, right? Now, does it mean all three of those things are going up? Because he says, I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things. That doesn't mean everything. So you have the price raise on games. Now, the next question is, with this increasing the value of Game Pass, do you see an increase? Look, an increase in Game Pass is going to happen. It is absolutely 100% going to happen. The question is when. Is Game Pass going to raise its price next year when all these next-gen titles that Microsoft says the price raise reflects the content scale and technical complexity of these titles? Is Game Pass going to raise its then, or is it still a little bit further down the road? Are they actually going to try to raise PC Game Pass prices, considering not many people are subscribed to that, and it's that really huge growth area that they've been talking about recently? Do you want to really kind of maybe cut your kneecap yourself by increasing the price of PC Game Pass before you really get a whole bunch of people into it, before you actually get Starfield and all these games into it? Or is this one of those things where maybe end of 2023, they decide to raise it? I mean, what if you had to guess right now? Game Pass is going to go up, but the question is when. When do you think it goes up? Sooner or later? I think
Game Pass is an investment area right now, right? So I kind of feel like I don't really feel like they're probably not looking at Game Pass with the view of like, oh God, it's costing us more money. They're probably looking at it a little bit more like, we can invest in this, we can, take a hit on it for now because it's still in its growth phase. Maybe putting the price up now would send the wrong message. Like Netflix didn't start hiking its prices until it had however many million subscribers, right?
Yes.
The price obviously will go up because of inflation. Like everything goes up. It's like you say, it's just a question of when. I could see it going either way. I mean, Microsoft might be like, we'll keep the price low until after we get Diablo and COD in there. And if we can disrupt the ritual of buying Call of Duty every year in, year out, and instead getting people into Game Pass, we get like 1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million, 5 million extra people into Game Pass on the back of Diablo 4 and into Game Pass on the back of Call of Duty, then maybe then they could start looking at price increases because they will have locked so many people in. They ain't even got the family plan out the door yet.
Yeah, that's true. And that had a pricing tag to it. So does that mean that increases before it even comes out? Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions and a lot of stuff up in the air right now. So
yeah, it's just I understand the business reasons behind doing this. I'm just not necessarily a fan of doing it, even though it was something I expected. Right? I mean, you're talking about trillion and billion-dollar companies doing this, and it's just kind of like, do you have to? It's like, no, they don't have to. They're making money hand over fist in every way possible on all these things every single quarter. It's the best quarter of all time. It's like, hey, but it's not enough. It's like, all right, man. And I think this also has a worse taste in your mouth simply because of, Xbox had a pretty bad year. And now before the year's even out, you're like, we're raising prices for next year on these games that were supposed to come out this year, right? So that's the other thing. Starfield and Redfall were supposed to be out this year. So is Xbox going to raise prices of their games this year and they just decided to push it to next year? Or if Starfield and Redfall had come out this year, would they both have been $60? My feeling is if Starfield and Redfall had come out this year, they still would have raised the prices. Starfield was going to be $70 whenever it came out, I think.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we said on the show once upon a time that Starfield would launch at $70. I'm pretty sure there's a show
we've said that quite a bit because I was just like, they're going to raise prices. They're going to have to. The other thing left is the consoles. So if you don't think they're going to raise the price of subscriptions for a while, which is valid, I mean, maybe you wait until the end of this year to raise your prices to see how far you can grow Game Pass off of all these things. You don't want to raise the price. Then that leaves the console, and Phil's talked about how they lose a whole bunch of money. So do you see them raising the price of the console next year, rather? Do you think we see Series S go from $299 to $350, and Series X go from $499 to $550 and match PlayStation?
That's a good question. I think they will probably eventually raise the price of the consoles. I think we've said that too, just because of the way supply chains are and stuff like that. But as to when, jury's out, man. I mean, they're keeping the Xbox Series S with the $50 off until the end of the year, supposedly. Yes, they are.
I mean, I just went on Best Buy today, and Series S is back up to $300. What do you mean?
Maybe at Best Buy, but if you go on the Microsoft store, it's still $50 off.
I mean, let me go to Amazon. Let me go to Amazon.com right now. Live professional podcast. Let me see. Xbox Series S. Jez says it's going to be $249 for the rest of the year. Okay, so the holiday console is indeed it's actually $240. It's not even $250. But yes,
damn.
The holiday console is $239.
Oh yeah, they put it down. They put it down on the Microsoft store too. No, it's they put it down a further $11, so it's $239.99.
Yeah, it's $239. So when I checked it yesterday at Best Buy, it was $299. I wonder. Let me go to Best Buy and see if the price went down today. BestBuy.com. Let's go take a look at the Series S. Xbox Series S. Let's see. What is the price of this? It is okay now. So yeah, yesterday it was $300 and today it's now $249. So it's actually $10 more expensive at Best Buy than it is at Amazon.
And the Microsoft store. So it's $239 on the Microsoft store. That's wild, man. And so that is for the rest of the year. That is the holiday bundle. So it'd be weird if the holiday bundle changes its price before the holiday ended.
Yeah. I guess you're
Sniper
right.
2K6 says you can always price match Best Buy. Yeah. So yeah, if you do the price match stuff at Best Buy, then you can get it down to $239, I guess. But yeah, that's what Microsoft's doing for the rest of the year. So maybe after the holiday, that's when they then they kind of put their prices up, maybe, because they did say we're going to keep things low for the holiday.
Yeah.
Oh, how charitable.
How charitable. They want the families to experience the gift of gaming.
The gift of gaming. But at the same time,
but after that, once you're out of the holidays, you're on your own. F you, middle finger to families. No more discovering the gift of gaming for you.
But that's the thing. It's like, if they were going to raise the prices of the consoles, they could have said that today, and that would have made and highlighted the holiday bundle and be like, after the holidays, the Xbox Series S will go up to, like, I don't know, $320 or something, just off the top of my head. And I don't think they put the price up of the Series S, actually. I think the Series S stays at $300. I think they might put the price up of the X, because that'll be like the enthusiast console. People with a bit more cash, maybe they can, they'll be happy to fork out an extra $30 or whatever. I don't think they'll put the price of the Series S. That'd be weird. I'm probably wrong about that, but it kind of flies in the face of its value proposition. You're selling a 1080p machine, you put in the price up. Shouldn't the price be coming down over time, not going up? So, like, surely if the price is, if is supply chains and inflation really that bad? But it is really annoying though, Rand. Like your earlier point, you said it's really annoying when these companies come out like bragging about their profits and their growth, and then they turn around and slap price hikes on us.
Mm-hmm.
I was reading an article today where it's like the reason everything costs more isn't because isn't because you're asking for a pay rise, it's because of corporate profits, you know. And the fact that, like, you know, oil companies and all these dudes are pulling record profits, that's what's driving inflation right now. The fact that none of this money's being spent, or it's being sent to shareholders. Because that, at the end of the day, what happens with a publicly traded company? They have to stay profitable as possible, because they're sending that money to their shareholders with the dividends at the end of the day. Like, if you're in the Microsoft shareholder club, the benefit therein is that every quarter you get a dividend payment, you know. So the profits go to shareholders to do whatever they want with, I guess. I mean, if you're a retail investor, you're probably, you know, hoping that one day you'll be able to fund your retirement with it. But if you're like, you know, a Warren Buffett, you're buying your next golden toilet with it, I guess. So, but that's how publicly traded companies work, whether it's Microsoft, whether it's Sony, whether it's, you know, my company. Unfortunately, the shareholders matter more than the customers at the end of the day. Well, you could, some people would say the shareholders are the customers, and we're the product. We're the Joe Schmuck. We're the product. But.
Well, if the product's free, you know, if what you're getting is free, you are the product essentially, because you're going to be selling your data. But as it pertains to the consoles, I don't know. I push back about them raising the price of the consoles, because I don't really think it makes any sense. And hear me out on this, because Sony raised the price of the console everywhere except the US, right? Because this is the one area where there's actually a battle going on. So Microsoft sells the majority of their consoles, a vast majority of their consoles, here in the US, which they're not going to be able to raise the price of the consoles here because Sony didn't, right? Where the Xbox console doesn't sell, and one of the reasons why Sony has the really big lead that it did last gen and the lead it has this gen, is mostly thanks to Europe, where Xbox consoles typically don't sell very well, like especially like Spain, Germany, those places. PlayStation can get away raising the prices there because they essentially don't have any competition with Xbox. So when Phil talks about like, hey, we're losing a bunch of money on these consoles, and people talk about like raising the console prices, I always kind of looked at it as like, well, it really wouldn't help Xbox, because it's not like they're selling that many consoles overseas in Europe. So it actually might be beneficial for them to actually be cheaper than PlayStation this time around. Might more eyes on it because of it. The second then you raise the price to match PlayStation 5, you're just right back where you started, and you're probably going to sell less consoles than you would have at a cheaper price point. So, like, what is the price raise actually accomplishing? Because I think you'd sell less, and I think you'd actually make less money overseas selling the consoles for the increased price. If Sony had raised prices here and Xbox could raise prices here, it makes a lot more sense, because this is where they sell their consoles. To me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Microsoft raising prices in the countries where nobody really buys them in bulk anyways. I could be wrong about a console price raise. I feel like it doesn't make sense for Xbox, because those countries they're really pro PlayStation. So I don't think they'll raise the price of the console. The games were 100% lock-in, and I think Game Pass is 100% lock-in as well. The question is when. Is it later this year? Is it early? Are they kind of figuring out what they need to do for any sort of concessions with the Activision deal? Like, are regulars going to say, hey, you can't increase the price of Game Pass for 5 years, and then, like, that decision's made for them? These are the sort of things I'm thinking about when it comes to this. Anyways. Yeah, I don't know. Raising prices sucks. You know, I don't... Like I said, I've played a whole bunch of $70 games, and none of them have basically screamed like, this was worth the extra 10. Not a single one of them. So I would imagine the same thing's going to go for Xbox. It's like, yeah, I don't see why Redfall needed to be 70 or Starfield. You're just doing it basically because you can do it. Because you also have people saying, hey, Game Pass negates this. I signed up for Game Pass and it makes whatever. which is okay, fair enough point for the people who are signed up, but not everybody also wants to rent their games. Some people like to own, and some people are like, all right, well, now I have to fork out an extra $10 for Starfield. Like, yeah, it's, I don't know, it's not the best way to do it, but like I said, my first thought was, hey, maybe we'll be getting a Redfall and a Starfield trailer release date this week with pre-orders opening up, and they had to explain why they were $70. At least that's kind of my line of thinking. Well, we only have a few more days to really to see if that actually holds true. So, Mark Austin in Superchat says, "What's the next likely first-party release after the Forza Starfield Redfall window?" Jez?
The next I would think about maybe.
I would say no. I don't think so.
No?
No, I'm gonna make a prediction right here and now.
Do it then.
I think Avowed is 2024.
So for holiday season, then what are you thinking? Hellblade?
I'm thinking there's a good chance there is Project Belfry. That's
Oh yeah.
I know that's global publishing, but they can still consider it first party. I think there's a good chance Hellblade comes out, but I also think it really depends on the deal and whether or not it goes through, because there is quote unquote a new Call of Duty that comes out this fall. Whether or not it's like additional content for Modern Warfare 2, which I think that's what Jason Schreier said it is. Microsoft could very well just be like, that's the game for the holiday, if the deal goes through and they own it. And if they do, they may feel that it'd be better served if, they didn't bury one of their other games alongside with it. So, but that's not why, so to me, I think Starfield's coming out in May, maybe early June. And I would say, if Avowed was probably coming around October, but if Microsoft has the deal done and Call of Duty is coming out in November and you had just had Starfield in May or June, I think it makes zero sense to release Avowed this year. I think then you just let them have more time and Avowed comes out early 2024. So Hellblade,
yeah, sure.
Hellblade, you can probably, I guess it just depends. I mean, if they really are done with the mocap right now, like we talked about last week, I really, there's a very good chance that game could come out in September in advance of the holidays and release. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see what Microsoft decides to do, because if the deal goes through and you have Call of Duty and you want to really grow some Game Pass stuff, that's the way to do it.
You know what this discussion highlights for me?
What?
Is how inconsistent everything's come.
Everything is very inconsistent.
Because before, back in the day, back in the old days when me and Rand were young whippersnappers, it was almost like you could quite accurately predict the sort of cadence that first-party games will come out, and you kind of have an expectation of, this is how many years it takes to make a Gears game. This is how many years it takes to make this kind of game, and blah 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 blah. But now everything's completely up in the air. It's been a million years since we had a Mass Effect game, a million years since we had a Dragon Age game. Although the new trailer came out yesterday, which is promising. It's been a million years since we've had, a sort of generation-defining Xbox exclusive. A very, very long time since we've had one of those. But since the pandemic, it still all kinds of feels weird and different and wrong. Do you know what I mean? Am I making sense here? It all still feels kind of weird to me. I don't know.
Before, you used to be able to accurately say you can shoe in this game here and this game here and this game here, but now you just draw on a blank, because who knows when Everwild's coming, and who knows when State of Decay's 3 is hitting, or who knows about Perfect Dark or Fable. It's all just sort of question marks, because you have no idea where they are in development, and you have no idea how much COVID and the pandemic impacted or slowed down any of it,
And also, like,
and they don't
you
talk
don't
and they don't talk
know.
about their games, so they don't give you any information, and you don't actually like all you see is CGI trailers. You don't even get to see any of the gameplay, so you're unsure about how far they are in development and how much is left. So you're just sat guessing and hoping that maybe somebody at Microsoft or Xbox leaks to you, some documents pertaining like when these things were supposed to come out. Is that what we're talking about? About how it's really hard to say when Microsoft, and now with the acquisitions of Bethesda and Call of Duty, and how they're being a little bit more timid about it, about how Call of Duty is such a big game, and maybe they don't want to overshadow any of the other things. So now your holiday season might have to be shifted around, and maybe they feel it's best for those other games to come out early next year. But who even knows when they're actually going to be finished? Because And then plus there's the inevitable, hey, Xbox game has to be rebooted. How many times have we heard that, right? Avowed, like what happened to it being at E3? It was supposed to be shown, and then it was Outer Worlds 2, and then it was definitely going to be at this E3, and then it wasn't, and then like, oh shit, it was being rebooted to actually make it better because they wanted to use more of the things. So who actually knows when it's coming? Same thing with Perfect Dark. Initiative's working on it. Oh, but it's not Initiative now. It's Crystal Dynamics doing it because Square Enix doesn't know everything for them, and like all this, right?
Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
I mean, I'm just saying. Is this why it's difficult to place years on anything? Because Xbox doesn't place years on anything because we don't know how far or along any of these games are. So it's impossible to predict when a game might come out.
It's kind of annoying, how upset Microsoft gets about leaks, and it's kind of like, well, fucking give us something then. You never show anything. We get pre-rendered teasers occasionally. We never see any gameplay footage ever anymore. And why is that? Why do we never see gameplay footage until the very last minute? What has changed about game development where that's a thing now? But you're completely right. It's boring a lot of the time. And maybe that's one reason why Nintendo's able to do this a lot better than Microsoft. Maybe there's just like their games are more simple, so it's easy to make a trailer out of them, And maybe that's why we don't get this stuff now, because like the lighting effects go in last or something, and the game looks crap until the last minute now. If that's the case, then maybe development needs to change or something, because like the hype is being sucked out of the whole argument right now. And they hate leakers, man. They hate me. They hate Tom Henderson. They don't mind Special Nick so much.
Well, that's because Special Nick is most of the time wrong, so it's quite okay. They don't mind people when the information's wrong.
Annapurna was upset.
Yeah, they certainly were. You're supposed to ask. Remember, you're supposed to ask the company you're talking about for permission to talk about them before you can talk. The great thing about it though was their response about it would just confirm that it is coming to Xbox. So thanks, for letting everybody know that Neon White is coming to Xbox at some point. Annapurna, appreciate it. May not be December, but it definitely is coming. By the way, you worded your PR statement. So
very, very hilariously, Nick like totally by accident kind of exposed Annapurna Interactive, which is hilarious. Oh man, but yeah, it's annoying. It's boring. I'm sick of not having gameplay to look at, which is why these leaks are so attractive and so lucrative. I got a ton of gameplay footage on my hard drive from various upcoming games that I can't show. But it's kind of like the thing to admit there is nothing. They look prototypey, like it's just different now with game development, I guess, where games look rough right up towards the end of the dev cycle now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. People are saying that Annapurna thing was a meme. Oh well, I never seen that meme before. But
I've never seen that meme either.
Yeah,
If it was a meme, it went over my head.
Yeah, and they kind of didn't do a particularly great job of covering up the fact that Neon White is coming to Xbox. But I will. But yeah. What's next?
What is next? We have a super chat here from Rich saying, can Activision just say we won't make games for PS5 anymore if the deal gets blocked? Well, if the deal gets blocked, they're going to have to make games for PlayStation because they're going to need money, and their shareholders are going to demand it. So, yeah. Like, they're definitely, they won't be able to do that. They'll definitely have to be making games for the PlayStation 5. I mean, the only games Activision really makes anyways are Call of Duty, and they make half their money on PlayStation, so you'd be dumb to get rid of it. Let's see. Austin says, Jez, is Xbox ever going to address the horrible latency issues plaguing Dolby Atmos audio setups on their consoles? You both are the real MVPs. Keep up the amazing work.
I haven't heard anything. I have passed that feedback on to Microsoft because I get it a lot about the Dolby Atmos stuff. But what I'll do is I will put that in a critique of the Xbox hardware ecosystem, which I've got coming soon, because it has fallen behind. And I'll put a note in my article about that Dolby Xbox issues, and I will bring that to Xbox for you. So yeah, thanks for that comment, but I don't know anything at the moment, but we'll try and get some information out of them.
Hacky Sack says potentiality. Is that something? Is that something Jez said? Potentiality.
Potentiality. Apparently, that is a word. Potentiality.
Lydia.
To be honest, anything's a word if enough people use it. We could make up a word right now if you want, Rand. Do you want to make up a word?
Make up a word. Go ahead.
Make up a word. I make up a word. I don't know. Xboxy. What's Xboxy? Waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting forever. Xboxy. Adjective. No, adverb. The act of waiting forever for something. Oh man. That shouldn't.
Lydia says, Rand, what would suggest to be in a $70 game? I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, none of the games I played that were $70 felt like $70 to me, or felt like they needed the price increase to put it out, especially in an era of, like, these companies being like, we're making money hand over fist, boys. We just made $28 billion this year. Oh, by the way, raising prices of consoles and raising prices of games and everything to go along with it. I don't know. It's just the way I feel. That nothing is really screamed. This needs the extra $10 because I mean the $10 isn't going to developers. It's just going right into the corporation. Probably it's just I don't know. They can get away with it because like they haven't raised prices in a long time and they feel they need to, and there wasn't really any backlash to it, and we've had some companies do it where like 2K still sells amazingly, and obviously God of War sold 5 million copies in a week. So it doesn't really seem like the $10 price increase is affecting much, if anything. So it's just like, all right, well, it seems like people are okay with it. And I'm fine. Like, normally I'd just be like, you know what? Hey, like, if you think it's worth $70, buy it. If you don't buy it. Because as we've seen, games go on sale really quickly. Like, I know Sonic wasn't $70, but Sonic was on sale for $30 like 2 weeks after it came out. And Gotham Knights was on sale for $40 basically a month after it came out. Like, this is all just, a lot of people have FOMO when it comes to this. Like, they want to be able to play the game day one. They want to be able to talk about it with their friends and talk about it online when it's the hot topic. The problem is not everybody can afford to do that for every single game. And it's like, so you get that really big sense of FOMO. But if you just wait, the prices always go down. This isn't like Nintendo where the prices never go down. These games always go on sale. So it's just for a lot of people, you're just gonna have to be patient. Be like, all right, I don't think it's worth $70. It might be worth $50. You don't have to wait that long before the game's gonna be on sale to reach that point. Like I said, like, it's just some games that I look at and be like, I don't think that game looks like it's worth 70, so I'm not going to purchase it. Or I do think it's worth that price. And then you play it and you're like, well, I didn't think it was worth... Like, I really like Gotham Knights. I put 50 hours into it. I played it through 1.5 times. And I don't think it was worth $70. I'll be the first one... Even though I enjoyed it, right? I really liked it. I don't think it was worth $70. You know, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody at that price point because it wasn't worth it. You know, it was just on sale for 40. That's a good price. It's probably worth that.
There's so many like cheaper ways of gaming these days.
There is.
Like free-to-play games are just so prevalent now. Like the youngsters that I know, like my cousin and stuff, and like she was incredulous over the idea that Minecraft isn't free. She was like, "What? Minecraft costs money?" Like it's mind-blowing, you know. Because games are free now for kids. Roblox, Fortnite, whatever, they're all free. Like you see like the Fortnite updates, or Fortnite's got ray tracing now before Minecraft does. Fortnite's got like all these extra, you know, Unreal Engine 5.1 tech stuff that no other game has. And that's completely free. You know, so it's kind of like free to play is eating into the business model of a fully priced game as it is. And so is Xbox Game Pass is also disrupting that as well. But, you know, there's still games that are selling copies hand over fist while being full price. But I think the bar of what a game deserves to be at full price is changing. And I think that's why, like, you are seeing these rapid sales because, like, you know, the amount of people that will buy a Sonic at $70 or $60, whatever it was at launch, that very rapidly drops off. You know, Gotham Knights rapidly drops off. You know, Callisto Protocol will probably be on sale very soon as well. You know, after the $70.
Yeah, Need for Speed Unbound will probably be on sale very quickly.
Yeah,
and so will Midnight Suns because it doesn't look like Midnight Suns was selling very well. So that's probably due for a price drop as well. Point is, you don't necessarily have to buy everything day one at full price. You can wait a little bit and then get it for cheaper. And maybe it's even better with updates because apparently Callisto Protocol missing ray trace reflections on Series X or something like that, and Series S or whatever. Yeah. So it's not even like the best version of the game. It never is. It's, you know, like games just come out half broken sometimes.
There's another point. You know, you're completely right. Waiting for a price drop is absolutely the right thing to do now because games that launch at $70 always are broken now. So like you're just better off waiting a couple of months, getting the updated version for cheaper, you know. And also, like in the case of PC games, you also get the version that doesn't have anti-cheat in, soaking up all your RAM and soaking up all your threads. And that'll be better too, while also being cheaper. Like their business model's all backwards now, you know. It's weird. It's all weird, man. It's weird. That's why I say I would never recommend Callisto Protocol at full price because it's buggy and it's very different, and I don't know if you'll like it. But it's something that I would happily recommend if it was in Game Pass. You know, the whole industry is just different now. Like Oscar Navarro says in chat, Dark Tide right now is an absolute mess. If not for Game Pass, I wouldn't play it. Yeah, Warhammer Dark Tide, Rand. Mm-hmm. He's broken
on the PC.
He's broken on PC, yeah. So like, you could like, yeah, it's in Game Pass, sure. But if it wasn't in Game Pass, it'd be like you'll be waiting for the game to be polished and then get it in a sale. You know, it's almost like every game launches in early access now. I don't know why every game just isn't early access. Why not just do that for every game? Because it's completely apparent that AAA developers can no longer launch a finished product. They just can't do it anymore. I think Elden Ring was the last AAA game I played that felt like a finished game at launch. You know, that's crazy to think about. But yeah, that's the most recent AAA game I played that felt finished at launch. You know, the developers have eroded trust in general with their full price games. And in an era of digital updates and stuff like that, it's starting to become like, why ever buy games at full price anymore? It's just ridiculous. I might write an editorial about this because I think that's an interesting topic.
You probably
why
should.
buy games at full price anymore? Why you shouldn't buy games at full price ever again. That'll make all the publishers love me who hate me right now.
Leaky Hum says Greenberg's marketing is in Cambridge right now, where Ninja Theory's at. So
yeah, Aaron's in Britain. I was going to try and meet him, but unfortunately, we're not in Britain at the same time. But yeah, so he's doing a tour. He's going across all the big studios, and to be fair, Aaron does this all the time because he's one of their top marketing guys. So it doesn't mean anything.
I like to believe that Hellblade is coming out this fall. So, I want to believe, Jez. I want to believe. LiberX says, isn't it strange that Microsoft would increase the price while fighting to pass the ABK deal? Yeah, it is, because they basically lambasted Sony about them raising their prices, and then Microsoft goes and raises the prices right now. It's just like, huh? Could this be a deal they've made with shareholders to increase the price that they gave the Xbox division the $70 billion they needed? I think they were always going to raise the prices. Like I mentioned, me and Jez I've been talking about this, that Starfield was going to be $70 for a long time now. I think that's always been the plan. I don't think it has really anything to do with the shareholders or about Activision Blizzard. I do think it's kind of awkward that Microsoft kind of gave it to Sony about them raising prices, and then they immediately raise prices now. But I don't know if maybe that has anything to do with like the whole deal going through about like, well, you can't accuse us of raising game prices when we already raised game prices before it happened. Maybe that is some line of thinking. I think it has some more to do with like pre-orders are going to open up for a couple of these games, and they're going to be 70, and they need to get the bad news out now. And you would think maybe if they were also planning on raising Game Pass soon, that they would just bundle the bad news together and say also Game Pass is going to be increasing next year to $2 to $12 or whatever. But maybe they're not going to, and maybe it's just the game price is the 70 was what they're going to do, and they'll sit on the console and Game Pass subscriptions. Or it could be completely all wrong, and then they'll raise all three, and we can have this discussion about how we gave Sony all this shit for raising the price of their console and their games, and then Microsoft just does it a little bit later on. Like, you gotta keep that same energy, as people would say, right?
Yeah.
The only difference is Xbox has choices. Like, you can buy the game for full price, or you can subscribe to Game Pass and get it for cheaper. That's not an option on PlayStation, which is why I think some people are more okay or don't really care because it doesn't affect them because they subscribe to Game Pass. It's like the only thing that is sort of diffusing any of like the negative backlash is because, oh, whatever, I can just subscribe to Game Pass and get it for cheap. I don't need to spend $70 for this. Siler says, and those prices drop real fast from 70. Yep, they do. They definitely do. And DS Omen says, Jez, have you noticed that Microsoft has added more 2D games to Game Pass this year that run on lower-end PCs? Maybe Microsoft is doing it to get more PC subs? That's an interesting thought.
That is an interesting thought. I haven't really looked at the PC Game Pass situation in recent times just because I hate the app so much. I absolutely hate the app. They've done a lot of work to try and improve it, but I just hate it, I just wish they'd put it on Steam, Just put Game Pass on Steam, because I just hate the app they've made. It's so horrible. I hate it so much. But I haven't really checked it out. I must look into that. But I do think lower end games are having a renaissance right now for a couple of reasons. I hate Nintendo Switch because it can't run high end games. So like a lot of indie devs are finding that like getting modern features into a sort of 2D game is or like a 2.5D game is a really good way to absolutely hit massive markets, because you get Nintendo Switch, you get the Steam Deck, which is seriously becoming a serious player in the space. You also get every PC in existence because you can run it on a crappy laptop that doesn't have a GPU, because like integrated GPUs are pretty much good enough to run 2D games these days. Like you can run Minecraft pretty well on a Surface Go these days, you know. So yeah, I think 2D games are having a bit of a renaissance right now. That's
Renaissance.
Renaissance.
You're making shit up
That's
again as
what I
usual.
thought. Yeah, I didn't invent the word renaissance. Do you not know it?
You're inventing how to say it right now.
How do you say it?
Renaissance.
That's it. Oh, man. Well, it's an Italian word, right? If there's like some Italians in the chat, maybe they can teach you how to say Renaissance properly.
Renaissance. Say it with me. Renaissance.
It's Renaissance. Renaissance.
Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. 2.5D games are having a renaissance right now. It's another article idea. There we go. Thank you very much. Yeah. If I ever get time to do any writing, because I'm very busy doing managerial stuff.
And my
Glitch Doctor says it's French. Renaissance is French?
Yeah, it's not even Italian, Jez. See, you're just making stuff up now.
I thought, wasn't Renaissance Leonardo da Vinci or whatever his name is? He's Italian, isn't he? No?
I don't know, Jez.
Come on, Rand, you did history at school.
I don't know, Jez. Seems like you're wrong in this one.
Well, I'll defer that to chat, right? See, Amit Kumar says it's pronounced Renaissance. There you go.
The Hooded Canuck says I'm right. Of course I'm right. Thank you. Everybody's back now, so now upstairs I can just hear everybody. There's like 15 people upstairs now, so I don't know how much longer this podcast is going to be. We're going to go until we got to go.
Through?
Well, I mean,
that's for sure.
We'll try to go for a little bit longer. So we still have Patreon questions. Which, by the way, thank you for all the Patreons. Thank you for everyone being here in chat. I don't know how many people we have because I don't have that screen open, but I am looking at the chat. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means a lot to me. All your messages about the weight loss and that actually looked presentable as Agent 0019 means a lot. Yeah. So I guess let's talk a little bit briefly about this Activision stuff that's going on this week, because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on with the Activision stuff. First, I think Bloomberg reported that that should the FTC file a suit to block, that Microsoft was going to contest it in court. They're just like, all right, if you block this, it's going to court, right? What else did we get? We got the CWA, the union, basically saying today how it should pass, correct?
Yes.
And how this is actually good for gaming and good for unions. And then there was
fighting so hard for Microsoft to see.
I know.
Tweeted again earlier.
Well, then we talked a little bit earlier about how like one of the ZeniMax QA studios is just formed a union, and normally Microsoft would bust this shit up, but they don't want to because they pledge neutrality to go along with this. Then you have the New York Post article from the other day about how the votes coming up from the 4 commissioners, and one of the Republicans on the panel is obviously leaning towards letting the deal go through, and also one of the Democrats who leaked it to the Post is leaning towards allowing the merger to go through, which would then have it tied at 2-2, which would have it pass. But then like there was talk about like Biden may push Lisa Khan to push this through, and then how it would be a bad look if like all this union stuff, and then she blocked the deal. There's like a whole bunch of stuff going on. There's people leaking to one newspaper about this, from someone's position at the FTC to then Microsoft's position here about how they're going to fight. It is crazy what's going on with all this stuff. And then today you get Brad Smith, who came out and wrote an article at the Wall Street Journal. Where he compared Sony to freaking Blockbuster, which I'm going to read that. I'm going to read this, Jez, because you said you missed it, right?
Yeah,
he said,
I missed that bit.
He said, we offered Sony a 10-year contract to make each new Call of Duty release available on PlayStation the same day it comes to Xbox. We're open to providing the same commitment to other platforms and making it legally enforceable by regulators in the US, UK, and European Union. And then he went to say Sony has emerged as the loudest objector to Microsoft to our deal, and it's as excited about this deal as Blockbuster was about the rise of Netflix. Was the quote.
Wow, I can't believe I missed that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And also incredibly accurate. That's kind of weird because I was actually thinking about Blockbuster yesterday. I was thinking about how I rented Clay Fighter from Blockbuster. Did you ever play Clay Fighter?
I did play Clay Fighter, yes.
Awful game.
Yeah, it wasn't very good. Wasn't very good.
It's like one of the worst games I've ever played. And I never returned it. I forgot to return it or I lost it or something. And dude, I'm kind of like wondering, what if me not returning Clay Fighter is what brought Blockbuster down? What if that was the straw that broke the camel's back, Rand? What if it's all my fault? But anyway, that was a hilarious comparison by Brad Smith. I almost wonder if like he thought of that comparison and then wrote the whole article around it. But yeah, it's been a crazy week with regards to leaks and the rumors and reports and anonymous sources and sabotage going down. It's been wild, man. Shall I summarize everything that's been happening with regards to this recently?
Yes.
So like it all started last week with was it the New York Post? I want to say the New York Post or New York Times, one of those outlets. They reported something like about the FTC having this rift.
Yes, a rift. Indeed.
A rift where like some of the FTC, the Democrat appointed. I don't know how they stack the FTC. Like, is it elected? Do the different governments appoint people? Is it bipartisan? Like, I don't understand how that shit works. Because the UK CMA is independent of the government, so apparently, it's like an independent body. But this doesn't sound fully independent if they're describing them as Democrat and Republican. But maybe everything over there is Democrat and Republican. I don't know. But anyway, it sounds like there's a rift between like people who think the deal should go through and people who think it shouldn't. And it's really funny, Rand, because there's multiple facets to this whole situation that does show how politicized and how political it has become. Because I don't know if you're following the news this week, Rand, but Mr. Biden, it's Biden, right? Not Biden. I always forget this. Mr. Joe Biden. Joe Biden dropped some legislation to block rail workers from going on strike recently. He blocked rail workers from going on strike using legislation, emergency legislation, rushed through Congress to block workers from exercising their democratic rights to strike and for better conditions. They want something as basic as paid sick leave. Paid sick leave is the law in Europe. I had no idea that you don't get paid sick leave by default in America, but apparently you don't.
No.
That is shocking to me. It's something we really take for granted in Europe, in like Western Europe and the UK. Paid sick leave is normal. Absolutely the most basic, normal, fundamental right. What if I like break my leg? I don't get paid? It's ridiculous. But anyway, he came out and blocked that. And Joe, Sleepy Joe, as they call him, he's supposed to be pro-union. So hang on a sec. Why is he blocking workers, the working class, the people the Democrats supposedly represent? Why is he blocking that? And using such a blunt object to do it too, like literally taking a sledgehammer to workers' democratic right to strike. It's insane. Now, and this is why it's really quite good of Microsoft to have aligned themselves so closely with unionization. They've kind of sensed where all this is going. You've got Amazon and Google very famously trying to block unionization from happening within their corporations, right? Amazon especially has been constantly talking about stuff blocking unions. They've been in trouble for it. They've been arrested and all that kind of stuff, right? Not arrested, but they've been sued and they've been indicted for potentially illegal stuff with regard to unionization, right? Whereas Microsoft has aligned itself very closely with unions, and that's the next part of this whole thing, is that the Communication Workers Alliance, which is a very, very powerful tech union in America, they came out in the Huffington Post, and then they've been tweeting all day about why Microsoft having Activision is a good thing, because in their view, if Microsoft has Activision Blizzard, that means the workers will have more freedom to unionize, choose collective action, which I think any worker should have the right to do. I don't understand why anyone who isn't a millionaire would be against unionization. If you want to be part of a union, you should have the freedom to do that. And you should have the freedom to collectively bargain against millionaire assholes who are, sucking the money out so they can buy private jets and shit like that. It's a mechanism where the people can take back a little bit of power. I don't know why that's such a big deal, but it's going to look really bad for the Democrats if they block this, or try to block it, because it'll look like now another anti-union move at the end of the day, because that's Microsoft's framing it now. Microsoft is framing it as a pro-union thing, and I don't give a crap about taking political sides and all that stuff. So don't get political in the chat, because I really don't care. I'm just talking about what we're here to discuss is the analytical reality of what's going on here. It's going to look really bad for the Democrats who have, Joe Biden and whatever. He's been talking about being pro-unionization, and then now he's talking about blocking this deal, which could be good for the unions. It could be good for workers. Kind of sends the wrong message. It sends a conflicting kind of message, right? So, yeah, it's been really dramatic today. We had that editorial from the CWA, and we had an editorial from President Brad Smith, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of there's a lot of people coming out to bat for this deal. It has become political, right? I think the Democrats want to rein in big tech, right? They want to rein in big tech. That's the big political buzzword right now. Big tech bad, because Google has abused its monopoly, Amazon's abused its monopoly, and they've both been sued in a court of law for abusing their monopolies. Google's been fined by the EU for $1 million, billion, trillion, and however, other Meta's been fined for mishandling user data and stuff like that. But it almost feels like the Democrats are sort of projecting. They're projecting we know we fucked up by not regulating these tech companies, so we're going to prove how great we are at regulating by regulating Microsoft right now, without realizing that this deal isn't so bad. It's not so bad, So it's kind of become a mess now, even more so of a mess, But it's kind of fun too, It's kind of interesting. So, do you have a take on all this stuff? Do you think it affects anything? Do you think it moves the needle?
I think I think it's just a bunch. You have one side leaking to one outlet, and then you have Microsoft leaking to another, and all these things are kind of things that are happening in orbit. I don't know. I don't know how this is all going to play through. I think the deal will pass ultimately in the U.S. I don't think the FTC is going to sue. I think that vote will end up being 2-2 or whatever, and the deal will just pass with some concessions from Xbox, 10 years for Call of Duty and maybe not raising Game Pass prices, because there's these other things like the whole union thing that happened today. That does kind of send a wrong message if you're trying to block it. Oh, well, we're concerned about, because I forget which senator was concerned about the workers' rights, but it's now it's well, okay, now it's funny when you think about it. The legacy of this merger could be the rise of unions in the game industry, because it was nothing. There's no unions in the game industry. Now all of a sudden, because Microsoft really, really, really wanted this to go through, right? And it was even in their agreement with Activision that they wouldn't form a union, but then they started to, and Xbox was like, we'll take the neutral approach, right? And then the union was like, that's good. Now you have a union forming at ZeniMax, which they already own. So like the legacy of this merger or this acquisition could be the rise of unions in the video game industry, which is not something you would think of would have happened initially when this all went through. It's just there's just so much stuff, because I think that the vote's supposed to happen sometime this month. So you have a lot of all this chirping back and forth, and obviously like Brad Smith feels a certain way about it, because now he's writing about how this is going to be bad for gamers or bad for like workers and gamers if they so he's already out there maybe trying to do pre-damage control about how this is a bad thing and you shouldn't sue us. And then Microsoft's already leaked it to people out there that if you do, we're going to take you to court and we're going to win this thing, and you're going to look, and you're just wasting taxpayers' money and stuff. I don't know. It's crazy what's going on with this whole thing, and that's just on the FTC side. It wasn't even the EU or the CMA side. So whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's just who knows what's going to happen next week. But enough of that. Indiana Jones, Jez. Not only did he get a new trailer, this stuff had to have been like packaged together, right? The new Indiana Jones trailer, and then the announcement of Jens Anderson coming on to work on the team on the game as the lead director, alongside like 20 other, I think, people who used to work at what was the studio? Starbreeze.
Starbreeze. They made the old school.
Well, a lot of people that worked at Machine Games came from Starbreeze, but he said that I've taken the next big step, which is to join Machine Games as design director in Indiana Jones. This is also redemption. When I accepted the offer to go to San Francisco in 2009, it was to lead the design of Indiana Jones game, but the game got canceled before I even got there. Now I get a chance to do what I originally hoped to do, but this time I get to do it with some of my oldest and best friends. Joining Machine Games is like coming home. Amazing people I work with during Riddick and the Darkness, but also teaming with new ones whose talent daily blow me away. I'm also so excited about what we're building and the way we get to do it, featuring one of the most iconic characters ever, in collaborations with my friend at Lucasfilm, published by one of the biggest publishers in the world, and doing it in an amazing studio like Machine Games. This will be something very special.
I missed that completely.
Yeah, and then I believe God Howard was on Lex Friedman's podcast where he talked a little bit about it, about Indiana Jones, because he's the executive producer on the game. And he said, I would just say it's a mashup. It is a unique. It isn't one thing intentionally, so it does a lot of different things. And that Machine Games is the perfect fit for this game with storytelling and how they record it. And the studio is doing an incredible job. So this leads to the discussion about first person and third person, right? What because we have Perfect Dark, and that's a first person game. Some people are disappointed, think it should be third person. I've long thought that Chucks and Chess says the director joining confirms first person. I mean, I know a lot of people are making that jump because he was the design director on The Darkness as well as Chronicles of Riddick, which are both first person games, and Machine Games has only made first person games, so it does leave credence to the idea that they're going to go to their wheelhouse and make Indiana Jones a first person game. But then, like Todd says, it's a mashup. It's unique. It isn't one thing intentionally, and it does a lot of different things. When I read that, there's a part of me that thought, what if they do split? What if they do like combat segments in first person, but then other segments in third, where it's like a split, like some parts of the game are first person and some parts of the game are third person?
Like Deus Ex. Because Deus Ex did that. Like some of the stealth bits in Deus Ex, Human Revolution and Mankind Divided, they were in third person, right? when you're like leaning up against the wall and stuff.
Yeah, you were in first person. Then when you took cover, you were in third. I mean, Perfect Dark is kind of like that. At least like Perfect Dark 0 was. I didn't play Perfect Dark 1, but
Chucks in chat says this director joining confirms first person.
That's why.
Honestly,
I read that out. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
I was saying like because he was on the Darkness and Riddick, which is first person.
I think, yeah, for me, like I'm totally with Chucks that this probably indicates that it is going to be generally first person. But I really like your idea that it has multiple points of view.
I just feel like Indiana Jones is such an iconic character. It would be a waste not to see him in third person. At least from my line of thinking. It'd just be a waste if it was just a first person perspective and you never see Indiana Jones outside of cutscenes. That's why I'm thinking like, okay, he's talking about mashups and stuff. And it's like, what if they just did it where some of it's in first person and then some of it's in third person? I think maybe it could work like that.
I think like you could get like platforming and stealth sections in third person. Like you because Indiana's a pretty stealthy guy, right? You know, Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's like sneaking around, stealing people's clothes, dressing up as a soldier, and sneaking through the submarine base. So there is a stealth aspect towards Indiana Jones, right? There's also a platforming aspect, like when he's running through the gauntlet with the ball chasing him, and he's got the whip and he's jumping and stuff. So like, I think those kind of gameplay elements often do work better in third person, right? But then he's also a shooter, He shoots people a lot, and he's got a revolver, and he's pretty badass.
And he kills Nazis. And Machine Games loves making games where you kill Nazis.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than killing Nazis. So, I think like the first person stuff the shooting stuff could be in first person. I kind of like your take there that it could sort of be the best of both worlds in that context. Because I do think it's more immersive when you are in first person, and I kind of do want to play an Indiana Jones game.
Well, Joe Sinister says in chat, which is I didn't really think of, can they even get Harrison Ford's likeness?
Ooh, that's an interesting. Well,
depending on when the game's set, right?
Yeah, I mean they are working with Disney on it.
It's true.
So like I presume he's gonna look Harrison Ford-esque. I would have thought it's probably not him. He's probably not, going to be, laser scanned into the game or anything like that. But I do think that it'll look like him. But who knows? Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe it's just literally Harrison Ford is the actor. I feel like we'd know that by now if that was going to be the case. But
there's no way. There's no way he's
that'd be so cool, man.
He's gonna do the voice or anything like that.
Let me dream. I would love that. Harrison Ford, like in a game. Has he ever been in a video game before? I don't know.
I don't know.
Sleepy Goblin 2D says they're getting Shia LaBeouf's likeness instead. I'll probably pronounce his name wrong, but that'd be please no. Have you heard that they are using deepfake technology to de-age?
Well, I saw some of that during the trailer for Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Yeah, you can definitely see a de-aged or Harrison Ford from Raiders era, definitely de-aged. It looked pretty good, like the de-aging tech, right?
The what they did for Luke Skywalker in some of the new Star Wars stuff was absolutely mind-blowing. Because they deep faked his voice too, which was really weird. Anyway, I'm kind of happy with it either way. Like if it's third person, I'll play it. If it's first person, I'll play it. I'm not that precious about first and third person. I know some people get really mad about it. Like even today, when you look at Cyberpunk's replies, a lot of people are like, add third person mode. I don't really care that much about it. Do you care that much about it? Chat, do you care much about it? Are you really precious about first or third person?
Depends on the game. I feel like Indiana Jones fits more for third person than first. I don't know. I feel like it's a miss but then again, we don't even. That's the thing. We saw a Twitter reveal of just some books and a whip. Like, we didn't even see a CGI trailer, let alone a gameplay trailer. So it's tough to say like this game has to be third person. Personally, I do think it's Indiana Jones. Like this Uncharted ripped off Tomb Raider and Indiana Jones, or Tomb Raider ripped off Indiana Jones, and then Uncharted ripped off Tomb Raider. It's like I feel like Indiana Jones has to be third person. With puzzle solving and using the whip to get around, and like it's not like Indiana Jones was ever the Uncharted or Tomb Raider type person where he's just mowing down Nazis with machine guns left and right. He was always very more stealthy and taking enemies down, through like smarts rather than sure like just overpowering strength or whatever. But then again, I don't know. Like, maybe my opinion will change when I see a gameplay trailer and Machine Games, wows me or something. I don't know. I think third person for this game would be better, but we'll wait and see. And I think somebody brought it up. He's like, well, if he's joining just now as the design director or the lead designer, doesn't this point to this game being further out? Well, I wasn't expecting it to 2024 anyways. I definitely wasn't expecting it next year. So
this comes back to our discussion earlier about like you just can't predict these things anymore. They've announced games a million years ago that just stay in development for like a million years. Like, where's Everwild? Where is it? Where's State of Decay gameplay? Like, even a tease? Where is it? It's nowhere. Indiana Jones only just got a design director. What? It's crazy. Like, it's so strange these days. I want to get back to the way things used to be. How long will it take, Rand? How long will it take before things are back to where they used to be?
Phil did say there was kind of back to the way it was. That like the effects were gone, but like I said,
doesn't feel like it.
I don't know. It just says like, hey, like, okay, I'm not a game director. I don't know any of this stuff, but like he's literally joining as the lead designer on the Indiana Jones game, and I'm like, well, doesn't that mean like it's kind of still further out? Like, does that point to a 2024 release or even a 2025 release if you're just hiring the lead designer for it? I mean, the game was announced in January of 2021, so I mean, it's about to be 2 years from the announcement, and we haven't seen anything else. Do we see something this year at E3 because the movie's coming out on June 30th? Would it be too much to ask for Xbox to release a trailer for the game to kind of go along with the release of the movie? Not obviously releasing when the movie's releasing, but like, hey, here's a trailer for the Indiana Jones game, and then, oh, the movie's coming too, right? Like, E3's in June, the movie's releasing in June. I mean, doesn't that kind of just synergy and work together?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not. I think Cyberpunk Edgerunners kind of proved that as long as the content's good, you don't really have to synergize things. Like, Cyberpunk got such a boost. Maybe it's even prudent to not link them together because you can inject another wave of interest in the game by releasing the movie later.
No. I'm just saying, like, the movie releases on the 30th, right? And you could have the trailer release. You could have the Xbox release the Indiana Jones trailer a couple weeks before that to plug the movie.
Oh, just the trailer. I thought you meant
right.
The whole game.
No, not the whole game, because obviously this game's not coming out next year, right? So it's like, yeah, and this
coming out next year.
Well, the movie's coming out next year. So this guy is joining as the design director for the title, and he's working in parallel with the creative director Axel Torvinis. I'm sorry if I mispronounced their names. Who was previously the art director for Wolfenstein games, with executive producer Jerk Gustafsson at the helm. So they just hired the dude who's going to be the design director. So I don't know if that points to this game like being super far out, but I mean, I think you're looking at 2024 at the earliest for that title. With I'm going to say a trailer releasing. They're going to have a trailer, maybe probably a CGI one at E3 at the showcase this year. That'd be my guess.
I'm sick of CGI.
I'm just saying that's what I think is in the ballpark. But Man, we have like over 1,100 people watching. Thank you guys so much for being here on this Monday. I know, normally we do the show on Friday, and we'll be doing another show this week, but this is the after wedding special. And yeah, we had to thank Microsoft for increasing the price today, so we had something else to talk about.
Yep.
What else? Starfield. I think you mentioned earlier about Starfield, right? Like, I didn't watch the thing because I just didn't have time. Todd Howard talked a little bit about the idea of
I haven't watched it either, honestly.
yeah, I'm gonna try to find it.
He talked for 3 hours on a podcast about a load of different things.
Yeah, where he says Xbox exclusivity is awesome, but he feels the pressure to sell consoles.
Yeah. And he addressed lots of things, I haven't watched the interview. I just really haven't had time. I haven't had time to sit down for 3 hours and just watch a podcast. I mean, I was literally like late to my own podcast because I was doing some work. But we already talked about it a little bit, but it's kind of like, I kind of get where he's coming from when he says like he feels this pressure to deliver a little bit more as an exclusive because you've got that sort of expectation from the Xbox platform fan base, and it's not just like the general gaming fan base. So, again, this is why I think like if they need to, they probably will delay Starfield again to make sure it's as polished as possible.
I'd agree with you, but I still feel that it's coming out in May or June. But Halo had more bad news this week, Jez, as the multiplayer director Tom French leaves.
Yes, Halo director left.
Everybody's left 343 now. Whew.
Yeah, there's nobody left.
I guess this is what it looks like when your game's a failure. Maybe that's too harsh of language, but I would just say if the game was in a good state and was making the money it probably should be making, I don't think you see this turnover. I think you see this turnover where people are leaving and you have studio head changes and all this stuff simply because Halo Infinite completely underperformed everybody's expectations, and it's basically out with the old and with the new. So this is kind of what it looks like when something fails. Maybe that's too harsh. Is that too harsh to say?
No, I think we're sort of in that situation now where there's a restructure going on, a new way of thinking about things. The Bonnie Ross is out, the engine director's out. Now we've lost the guy who made Halo 5 Forge, and no doubt contributed to this one as well. It's kind of like you sort of click 44 says, is this bad news or good news? And it's kind of like is it necessarily bad news when we haven't really seen Halo properly deliver in a really long time? I mean, you have to tell me what your thoughts are on where's your head at with Halo right now? As a Halo fan, where's your head at with it?
I'm not even paying attention to all the things that are going on. I know people are loving the Forge stuff, and maybe people come back in March when they come up with a matchmaking system or whatever. I mean, he might be right. Is this really a bad thing? It's like, well, I guess if you weren't a fan of what, he designed or was, as the design director of the multiplayer or whatever he was, then maybe you look at it as a good thing. So all I know is that there's a lot of people left. Some people seem to be. There are definitely some people who've left 343 who who kind of are a little bit sour about it, and I think it's just more just because like you have a regime change coming in, and the studio is going to look completely different 2 years from now than it looked obviously like earlier this year, and I think it's simply because, for lack of a better word, the game just failed. Like, it may have launched great, and Metacritic may have been damn high because the campaign was quite solid, and the multiplayer was one of the best playing Halos to date. But like everything after that was just kind of, what's the right word? Just lacking. They couldn't put seasonal content on time. The content that they had in the seasons when they did weren't enough, and seasons were constantly getting delayed. People were bleeding. You made it free to play and put it on PC, and nobody plays it on PC anymore, right? You're on the Xbox console, and like it can barely. It was like hanging in like the mid-20s until the new season came out, and it like went back up to 15th. In fact, at one point, Persona 5 Royale was more played than Halo Infinite, which is something I thought you would never see. The fact that a Halo title is that far down on the most played list just kind of speaks to 343 not following or understanding what current like multiplayer demands, I guess. But then again, like Halo fans bitch when things change. So you have to change with the times. If you don't change with the times, you're dead. Adapt or die. And
I want that Halo Overwatch version back, man.
I mean, from everybody I've talked to that has played that Halo Overwatch version, it was a pile of dog doo doo. From everybody I know who's talked about it,
I saying that because it was not Halo or because it was actually bad?
No, it was bad. I've talked to people who've played it. It was like it was just straight up bad. Now that maybe it's because it was like they didn't iterate on it or whatever, but like that was like it was a bad thing. So yeah, I mean, is he the last major departure from 343? Maybe not. Is Halo going to be in a better place 2 years from now? Maybe. We'll see what the new people implement and whatever their vision is of Halo versus the vision of Halo that Bonnie Ross and her team had put in there. But I mean, this is obviously like this doesn't happen to a successful game and a successful studio. This only happens to something that needs to be fixed. And I think Halo Infinite just didn't reach the milestones or the money and that Microsoft and 343 were expecting. So it's like, all right, we have to do something about this, and let's see if you can change it up. It's unfortunate, but maybe you get a better game out of it to down the road. We have a super chat here from Bright Tundra. It says 343 needs to look inward and see if a mainline Halo game is really what they want to do moving forward. I wouldn't mind if they accept that they no longer understand what Halo be and should move on. The thing is, I don't think they just will move on. Like, maybe they make a spin-off Halo game, but a lot of that team was built on the campaign plus the multiplayer and all that stuff, and it's just, I think it's just like, I don't think you just turn 343 into a studio that just makes something else. Personally, they're probably going to keep on trying because Halo still has the name to go along with it, which is something, which is worth something. It's just not as worth as much as it used to be anymore for obvious reasons. But yeah, geez, what else here, Jez? I think that's realistically it. We got some questions from the Patreons because I know somebody's going to come down here. One of my nephews is going to come down here and bother me soon because they're all upstairs and it's kind of crazy up there. So thank you guys for watching the show. We're going to get to the Patreon questions. If you guys do us a big favor, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. Jez, you'll be putting this show up on iTunes and Spotify tomorrow, right?
Yeah, as soon as YouTube finish processing it, I'll whack it on there, probably in the morning. It usually takes, like, because the shows are so long, the 4-hour shows usually take like 6 hours or something to process, but this one will be like...
Yeah, this one's going to be shorter. So
maybe I'll do it quicker. We'll see.
And if you want to join Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/XB2, where you can submit these questions or, get access to Xbox Ultimate, which we'll be doing next week. And then Xbox 2+1 early access, which we'll be doing later in December. Still trying to think of some guests. I kind of want to have Cog on, but I was thinking maybe we should do Cog and Maddie and get a Defining Duke crossover, Talk about Xbox in 2023 and stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty cool.
And just want to quickly mention, thanks to BetterHelp.com for sponsoring the episode. You can get 10% off of BetterHelp first month with a code, it's betterhelp.com/Xbox2, all one word. Put that in the description as well. Help support the show, and also, I got friends who use BetterHelp, and they say it's a really good service. So, thanks to them for sponsoring the video. And we're gonna, and also, El Blah says subscribe to Jez Plus Games. Yeah, subscribe to me because that's where the Xbox 2+1 show lives.
Mm-hmm.
We upload the Xbox
helping
2
Jez out.
show
You got a whole
to,
bunch of new subscribers and viewers over there because of that show.
Yeah, I did. Lots of people, I guess YouTube was intelligent enough to recommend it to your subscribers, I think. Thanks to everyone who came across and checked out my little channel, which I'm hopefully going to be doing more stuff on. Rand, I have to actually check my contract with Future because I want to do actual videos about Xbox on there. Not really newsy kind of videos, but more like, maybe retrospective stuff, nostalgic kind of stuff, maybe, and talking about games and stuff. But I need to find out if I'm actually legally allowed to do that. Because it might be like, oh, if you're going to make videos, you have to put them on Windows Central. But I don't know. But Windows Central's channel is like, it's not very active. But yeah, thanks to everyone for the support.
Yeah. So we got a question here from My Dixon U says, if Xbox gets Activision, do you think Xbox would use the COD engine to make other new games other than Call of Duties, or use it on any existing franchises like Halo? And what new games would you like for them to make it with? Let's see. Doesn't COD use the Quake engine or variation of the Quake engine?
Yeah, so
which wouldn't Xbox own anyways, because they own. Isn't that Quake engine? Wouldn't that be owned by id? I don't know. Is that
Call of Duty uses a heavily modified version of id Tech, the id engine. I don't even know if they still use it. They probably do. I wonder if we can find that out somewhere. They almost never talk about it though. Like it's not like when you load the game up, it says id powered by id Tech or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Because generally
it says it's id Tech 3.
So Modern Warfare 2. Oh wait, that's the original one. Modern Warfare 2 2022 video game. So that's on Infinity Ward Engine 9.0. And Infinity Ward's engine is... I'm not sure if it's based on id Tech still. It's been modified so much that it probably barely resembles anything that id Tech uses these days. I might dig into that because that's an interesting topic. Like, what the hell is that engine now? Don't even know. Apparently, from id Tech version 8, it was completely rebuilt. So maybe it isn't.
So they don't use id Tech anymore. They don't use the Quake engine.
Yeah, it might be something.
Somebody in chat might know. Let's see if anybody in chat knows.
Yeah, maybe. I'm gonna look into.
Joda said it's so far beyond id Tech at this point. Most likely, looks like it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's probably very, very different now. But yeah, let's get some Patreon questions in.
Yeah. Well, he also said what new games would like them to make with it. I don't think they'll use that engine personally, so I don't think you will see any games made with that they'll use that engine specifically for Call of Duty. Xbox International says with the recent announcement that James Gunn wants to make DC games that tie to upcoming movies, would it be smart for Microsoft to get marketing exclusivity to these games? So similar to Sony. So Xbox is a superhero game that competes with Sony in that space. It could be the Wonder Woman game. What game would you want besides Batman? I think it would be smart to market with it, right? Whether it's Suicide Squad or the Wonder Woman game, because it does those games do reach further out. I don't know. I still don't know if Microsoft really wants to do a deal like Sony does with Marvel, where Sony's doing Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine. Nothing has shown me that Microsoft is willing to do a license IP thing to make a game. Nothing has shown me that yet. People point to Indiana Jones, but I'll just point back and say that was already in the works before Microsoft acquired them. I've yet to see any inclination that Microsoft would want to do that sort of deal, because I feel like Microsoft wants to own everything. They want to be able to like sell it and then sell it digitally, physically, but then also stream it and stuff. And I think they don't like the whole licensing stuff. But if I were to say what would I want besides a Batman game, which is exactly what I want more Batman. God, a Superman game, a good Superman game. It has to be, because it's like that's like one of the holy grails. Like Superman's one of the greatest comic book characters, and he's never had a proper, really good video game. And it's like, come on, somebody could make a good. You know what? Make it a Justice League game so I can switch between Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Martian Manhunter. Right? That would be cool.
I always thought they were going to build up the Arkham games to this like epic Justice League conclusion, kind of like the Marvel movies where you have like a tie-in a Superman game and then maybe a tie-in Suicide Squad game, and then eventually it leads up to this like epic Justice League game where you're leveling where like Darkseid and shit are there and Brainiac and and there's kind of like world-ending shit going on. I thought it was going to lead up to something like that, but now it sounds like it's not. But there's some really great suggestions in the chat. There's like Superman solo Deadshot game. That'd be cool. I think Azrael would make a really great video game protagonist, personally. Or like or you do like the Nightfall Batman arc, with John Paul Valley as Batman. For those who read the comics, I think like there's a lot of stuff they could do with DC. DC is like one of the most wasted cinematic universes in recent history, I think, but they're kind of chasing that trend, like what Marvel were doing. And they're kind of like, oh, we need to be like Marvel. But in trying to do that, they kind of like lost the essence of what makes DC. I don't know. When Aureus says a Constantine game, that'd be sick. Constantine, that's a good idea. Aren't they making a new Constantine with Keanu Reeves? Yes. Or am I going completely mad? No,
they announced that. They announced it during the podcast we were doing one time. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, your Constantine movie. I need to go. I haven't seen that since I was a kid, and I think I was drunk when I was watching it. I need to go back and watch that. I was Swamp Thing, man. Make a Swamp Thing game. I don't know, man. There's so many cool characters in the DC universe that could do it.
I just want Superman. Give me a Superman game.
Eddie, I'm not a big fan of Superman. I think he's overpowered.
Whatever.
He kind of reminds me of Goku. He just can't lose.
Eddie wants to know if he'll be playing Monster Hunter Rise when it comes to Game Pass in January. Of course he will be. Of course. What kind of question is that? I probably won't be though, but Jez will be. Jez
I'll
definitely.
Tell you, I've actually got a problem, Rand.
Yes, you do have. You have lots of problems, bro.
I have a lot of problems.
You got a lot of problems.
I got a Monster Hunter problem. Because I haven't killed the last boss of Monster Hunter World.
Well, that's because you don't finish games.
No.
How many times have we talked about this?
I've tried to kill the last boss of Monster Hunter World. The DLC boss, Fatalis. I've tried, Rand. He's very hard. And I quit for a while and I just never came back to it. And it kind of feels like I've got unfinished business and I can't play Monster Hunter Rise until I play a Kill Fatalis. Do you ever feel like that? Like you've got unfinished business?
No.
Because you always 100% games with Chivos, don't you?
No, I don't really do that anymore. But I usually play a game and I'll beat it and then move on to the next one. I'm not in this situation like you where I'm maidenless and I don't beat games,
Oh man, Fatalis is bullshit, man. It just sprays a whole arena with fire, and it's just like my whole build revolves around blocking, and I can't block his fire. So now I'm just like, man, I gotta like relearn a different weapon. It's just like you have to learn that shit like it's a fighting game, man.
Yeah. Well, we have a question here from Silas, who says, if you guys were stuck on a desert island for 1 year, but on different islands, what one game would you want to play? Assume there is no internet, so no World of Warcraft or Overwatch, Jez.
Damn.
You can only have one game, and it's a bug-free and content complete. Well,
oh man, he totally saw me coming. I instantly thought World of Warcraft.
Overwatch 2, World of Warcraft. Why not? It'd be no different than living at home or whatever. So I would say
there's no internet. There's no internet though.
Yeah, I would say it'd have to be something like a Grand Theft Auto 5, just because like how much you can screw around in the world. You know what I mean? It would have to be something like that. I couldn't imagine like I'm gonna bring God of War 2018 with me and just play through this linear ass game. You know, it would have to be something where you can create your own fun. Maybe even Minecraft, right? Like where Minecraft you can make your own stuff, I guess.
I mean, for me, I think I'll pick. I'm allowed to have DLC. I'd pick Fallout 4 with all the DLC. If I can have DLC.
Well, he didn't say. Yeah, I'm assuming you downloaded it to your system before you went on this trip and got shipwrecked. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have Fallout 4 with all the DLC and a couple of mods on my Xbox. But yeah, that's what I'd do.
Well, a Guns says Monster Hunter World. You can play it offline. I'm surprised you didn't pick that.
I've played it to death. I've done everything there is to do in that game, except kill Fatalis. That's the only thing I haven't done.
And we have a super chat here from Isylar who says, "What's the 150 employees Sony sent to Callisto Protocol all about?"
We never talked about that.
I think that has something to do with their mocap studio or something.
Yeah,
that has something to do with motion capture.
We never talked about that. So that was a controversy this week because Sony sent 150 devs to work on Callisto Protocol, and it led a lot of people to think like that's the reason the game is so. The performance delta is so big, and the PlayStation 5 version runs better and has ray tracing and all this stuff. I think it's a case of Sony had the marketing deal. It was the lead platform for development, and the devs bit off a little bit more than they could chew. I don't think there's any conspiracy there. I think it's good that Sony helped them out. You know, it's a good thing at the end of the day because my code for Callisto Protocol came through Idea Xbox. It's an indie dev.
It's an indie. Well, yeah, Krafton, the publisher, I guess.
Krafton's the publisher, but it's like it came through Idea Xbox. You know, it's a new studio. They're pretty comparatively small, highly ambitious, and you know, Krafton was probably like, yeah, we can't delay the game again. So yeah, this is what I'm going to write this week. Never buy a game at full price ever again, because there's literally no point. Because you'll be able to get Callisto Protocol cheaper in a month, and it'll be polished. So why get it at $70? There's literally no point.
Yeah, you know, interesting. We didn't even talk about this when we were talking about the price raises of the game prices of Xbox. So with them raising the prices to $70 on Redfall and Starfield and Forza Motorsport, will they be bringing their $70 price tags to Steam and the Windows Store?
I was thinking about that, actually. That's a real kicker, because $70 pricing has been really controversial on Steam. Like Final Fantasy VII Remake, for example, $70 on Steam.
Well, it was also a year later, too.
Yeah, that too. But there isn't a lot of games that are off $70 on Steam.
So let me ask you this question, I guess. In chat, you can, as a console gamer or people who play on console, if the games are at $70, but then on PC they're $60, would that kind of sit wrong for a lot of people? Because I know people expect that for third-party stuff, that you can always get it for cheaper, right, on PC. But I don't know. That's the question. Is Starfield going to be $70 on PC to match what they're selling it for on console?
This is something developers have complained to me about with regards to Xbox Play Anywhere as well, because it's like, you know, we have to for Xbox Play Anywhere, the pricings have to be the same everywhere, right? Because you just get the cheaper version otherwise. And then it's like, well, then we have to price competitively for Steam, because Steam games are generally $10 less. And then it's kind of like, well, if we make a full price game for Xbox and then a console priced game for Steam, but then, you know, then that'd be bad. But then we have to make the PC Game Pass version full price console version.
So you're saying because Starfield's going to be an Xbox Play Anywhere game, presumably, right?
Yes.
That it has to be $70. because
Yes.
right. But then if it's that version $70 on PC, then wouldn't the Steam version also have to be $70? There's no way they're gonna have their own version be more expensive than the Steam version, right?
Yes, it will.
So more than likely, Redfall, Forza Motorsport, and Starfield will be $70 on Steam.
Yeah, if I had to guess.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's see. We have a question here from Elijah, who says, given the new Indiana Jones trailer release, do you think the news of the game will follow, perhaps during the VGAs? Very well could have. It was definitely coordinated with the new trailer and then the information about the new guy working on the game. It is possible they have the trailer at the VGAs. I still think like you're probably. I kind of got lost in my thought. I still think I think there's a chance you might see the 3 games mentioned in the press release today. Forza, Redfall, and Starfield. I think there might be a good chance maybe you see a trailer for all 3 of those, announcing the release dates with pre-orders available. If that may not come to pass, I at least still expect Redfall to be there. I mean, did you hear anything more from one of your sources about Xbox's presence at the VGAs at all, or no?
No, I have no idea, and to be honest, I'm not going to put anything else out there right now because
it'll get slothed, and we don't want to get slothed.
I mean, he did say this year that the Game Awards would be shorter.
He did say that. So, CGA D93 says, "Hey, Randall, Handsome, and Jez. Just wanted to thank you guys for the content. It really makes my drives to and from work more bearable." Well, I'm glad we can help with that. And Randall, Handsome, I like that. It's good. Beethoven says, "If Activision deal goes through, I would love it. If Microsoft made future COD games free to play and had campaign and maybe even a battle pass with Game Pass Ultimate. With the strategy, Sony would no longer get to charge players for PlayStation Plus who only have it to play COD online, since free-to-play games do not require PlayStation Plus. I believe COD currently has cross-progression as well, so you might even get some PlayStation players to sign up for Game Pass if you price the battle pass correctly." That's interesting. Although I still think you'll probably have the COD games be premium and they can sell those for full price while you still have Warzone 2 being the free-to-play thing. Let's see. Ethan says, "A common criticism Xbox skeptics claim is that the company has an inability to make great games. Due to recent acquisitions, many are criticizing Microsoft for its forceful re-entry into the industry spotlight. This talking point is resurfaced due to arguments that Sony has made to the CMA in the acquisition investigation. It is arguable Sony has worked closely for long periods of time before acquiring the studios for the most part, like Sucker Punch, Insomniac, Ben Studios, Guerrilla. Do you two think it's a valid criticism that Xbox should build more studios organically or work with them closely before proposing acquisitions, like with Playground Games? Do examples like the initiative show how difficult building studios would be in the current landscape of a fast-growing industry? Or do you think it's more of Microsoft's failure to manage that caused difficulties in that situation? Is the lengthy amount of time it would take to build those studios organically a valid excuse for Microsoft to make frequent acquisitions as they are doing now? Sorry if this is bloated, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. P.S. Love the show, Ethan." That's a long one, Jez.
I mean, it's an interesting topic because it is something people always criticize Microsoft for, or at least you see like some of the discourse is like Microsoft should make their studios organically, they're brute forcing their way through. It's almost like they're accusing Microsoft of cheating, but there's no cheating in business if it's legal. There's no cheating, and there's nothing Microsoft has done here is illegal. At the end of the day, they're a business, and they screwed up in the Xbox One generation, and as a business, they have to get back on the right path, and the fastest way of doing that is throwing their money around, and we asked them to do this. Xbox fans asked them to do this. Literally everyone asked them to do this. At the end of the day, we all wanted to see Microsoft really compete, really get up to that next level, and and even the people who detract from Microsoft, the people who hate Microsoft, they criticize them and say like, you don't have any games, blah, 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 blah. Microsoft could spend 10 years trying to make studios, or it could just acquire them. Some of the studios they did have existing relationships with, and they did work with them for a long time. Bethesda is literally that studio. Bethesda was making Xbox exclusives before they went multi-platform, and even when they did go multi-platform, the Xbox versions of the games were often the lead platforms anyway. DLC never for Oblivion and Skyrim, I believe, didn't hit PlayStation 3 at launch because they had so much trouble working with the cell architecture or something, if I'm remembering that whole scenario right. And then you've got like Undead Labs, which made that was exclusive to Xbox. So it's like a lot of these studios already did have existing relationships with Microsoft, so it did make sense. And ZeniMax especially. The president of ZeniMax is like like a former Microsoft alumni, and also very closely worked with Microsoft as well, and he's a personal friend of Phil Spencer, I do believe. So a lot of these acquisitions fall in line with that mentality of Microsoft should acquire studios that it has an existing relationship with, and that's why Microsoft has been generally quite careful with who they acquire. They've been focusing on studios that really fit into their culture to some degree, Um, and that's why they haven't just rushed out and bought some of the more obvious studios that people might be thinking about. Why didn't they just go and buy Ubisoft when their share price was low? Why didn't they just rush out and buy EA or whatever? Um, and why did they target these specific studios? It's because they've got a very thoughtful plan about what they want to do, and they've been very transparent about it. A lot of it's revolves around mobile. A lot of it revolves around Game Pass, and for the Game Pass, it has to be like studios that fit in. Now, they could just grow those studios organically, but what is organic in the gaming industry? You're poaching from other studios. You know, is that really something Microsoft should want to do? Do they want to like steal talent from their partners and stuff like that? It's a fine road to walk, And I think the most diplomatic way of doing this is to acquire, because you're not just stealing the talent from other studios by, wielding your money around, potentially harming other companies. You're at least compensating those companies for your poaching, basically. So for me, this is the right way of doing it, Um, but yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know if you've got a different take on it, Rand.
Well, I mean, I always see like the arguments about Xbox buying Bethesda or Activision, or even some of the other studios being like, well, PlayStation did it this way. I don't really think there's a right way to do it. It's just whatever you're comfortable with. Like, maybe like you work with Sucker Punch or Insomniac, and you feel like, okay, these meet our goals and we're aligned and they're a good studio, so let's do it, right? Whereas like, okay, Compulsion, In Exile, like you didn't really work with those, and it's just like, okay, well, we need to make a splash. Maybe you gamble on those, and it's like, all right, whatever. I I don't think one is necessarily better than the other. I mean, obviously Xbox needed to build up their first party stables, and the fastest way to do that is to acquire teams that are already pre-made with their own cultures and their own IP and technology with it. So you buy Bethesda, you get all those teams, you get all those IPs, and you don't have to build any of that from scratch. I mean, because that's where Xbox is. They're coming from behind. They're trying to reach the level of PlayStation and Nintendo, and because their lack of investment towards the end of the 360 era, with how badly the Xbox One era started and them getting their budget throttled, it just threw them so far behind the eight ball in regards to their competition. It was just the only way to actually catch up fast is to buy studios and publishers that were already pre-built, essentially. So you get Bethesda, you get everything with it, you get the teams already built, you bring in that entire publisher who's used to doing their own stuff, and you just do what you normally do, right? Activision, the same thing. You get Blizzard, you get King, you get Activision. It's just like, just do what you need. Like, they're doing it because it makes the most sense. They don't have time and years to spend partnering with studios, and it worked well during the PS3 era because you could basically partner with somebody and get a game every 2 years because that's how often games came out. So you partner with them, and within 4 years, you had 2 games to judge whether or not you wanted to pursue the relationship. Nowadays, a big AAA game takes 4 to 5 years. So 2 games takes 8 to 10 years. That's an entire generation. And maybe you made the wrong choice, and it's like now, so like now the choices are, because games take longer, like that time and who you choose are more meaningful. Whereas before it was like, 4 years, we did 2 games, we didn't really like it, we can pursue other things. It's just the way the industry's moved, where it's like everything takes longer, and you need big hits. You got a service, you need to sell Game Pass. It's like Bethesda and Activision and all that stuff just made perfect sense versus, all right, let's partner with IO Interactive and see if we really like working with them. But then we're going to be spending the next 10 years putting 2 games out to see if that's okay. I don't think it works like that anymore, which is why you're starting to see Sony bucking that trend, buying a mobile developer who hasn't even released anything, buying Haven before they've released a single game, because you can't wait anymore because things take way too long. So it's like, if you like what you see right away, it's like, all right, now we need to do it. Times have changed, and because of that, how you acquire has changed. Because if you're sitting on your ass, Tencent's going to come in and take things from you right underneath you. So it's the way of the world right now, man.
We missed a super chat from Leaky Hum, who said, if the Coalition is going to move on from Gears after 6, why can't 343 move on from Halo?
Well, nobody really said they're going to move on from Gears, though. That's just my hope, is that they move on from Gears. But I think me and you have both heard from people at Xbox that they like having Gears around. They like Gears. And they may not move around. They may not move from Gears.
They won't, and they shouldn't.
They should, and they probably won't.
No, they shouldn't.
I mean, maybe
why should they?
Because Gears has had its time. It's done, over with. Something new, fresh. Gears is old and stale, bro.
You think id should move on from Doom?
If id wants to move on from Doom, then they should move on from Doom.
But what if they don't want to move on from Doom?
Well, if they don't, then continue to make... Well, I mean, did you finish Doom Eternal?
Yes.
Did you finish the DLCs?
No.
Okay, the DLCs wrap up that storyline.
It's very hard, though.
It is, but I'm just saying the storyline's concluded. It's over. There's no more story to tell.
Bullshit. That's a universe. You could easily do more.
Not with the Doom Slayer. Somebody in chat, back me up. People in chat, if you finish the Ancient Gods Part 1 and 2, can you please tell Jez how that storyline is completely wrapped up?
Yeah. Just saying they could do some.
I'm sure.
Stuff.
Okay.
I want to play a Doom game as a marauder. That'd be cool.
They could jump into the future another 300 years and be like, the Doom Slayer is awakened again and blah 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 blah. Right?
Well, go to the past. We are medieval Doom Slayer.
Sure,
Hexen. I want to see Hexen come back, man. Hexen.
See, look,
when Microsoft acquires Activision, id will have Hexen back.
Did you just get spoiled? No, because you have no idea. You don't know what I'm talking about. Me saying that the storyline is concluded isn't a spoiler, because you don't know how it concludes. So, I'm just saying, it's franchises, bro. They have like an expiration date. They've been doing Gears since 2006. I think the flowers weren't off the franchise. I mean, I guess we'll see with 6 and if they do anything to change it. But like, at some point, it's just like you need to move on, bro. You need to move on. And I think it's time to move on from Gears. Hell, maybe it's even time to move on from Halo. I've normally been against that, but maybe it is.
No. I think you're right. They should move on from Halo, but not
they
Gears.
should if they should move on from Gears, 100%. We got a super chat here from Sean Kramer. Double Fine wouldn't have boss fights and Psychonauts without Microsoft. We don't need organic. We want devs to have time and resource to make great products. Indeed. They've repeatedly said that about how Microsoft's involvement gave them more time, more money, and they made the game better. But there's this talking point among PlayStation fans that like Sony's way is the best way, and it's the blah 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 blah. Like there's no best way. It's just whatever works for you. But like I said, because of how everything takes so long now and everybody's acquiring, you can't wait anymore. iSiler18 says, in Turing, Sony doesn't care about Bethesda. Didn't Skyrim sell a buttload of copies on there? I mean, it did, but it doesn't make that money that Call of Duty makes every year. Skyrim comes out once every X amount of years, or the Elder Scrolls games. I'm just saying Sony cares less about Skyrim than they do about Call of Duty, which is probably why. Well, I mean, we can only assume they didn't vocally fight against the acquisition of Bethesda, like they are fighting against the acquisition of Call of Duty. So, let's see what else we got here. No, we did all these, right? Yes, we did. I think we got a couple more here. Eddie says, was looking at headsets, Jez. Have you reviewed the Razer Kara Pro?
Have I reviewed the Razer Kara Pro? I think I have. I think I have reviewed that headset. And I can't remember anything being particularly bad about it. I think the Razer Kara Pro, I think my take was essentially you're paying for the brand. Yeah, I did review that. I reviewed that back in 2021. So if you want to read my full thoughts on it, just search Razer Kara Pro Xbox review Windows Central, and it is there. My thoughts were it's got the same issues as most Bluetooth Xbox headsets, where like if you are using Bluetooth, it creates distortion, and also there is issues with the Xbox wireless signal, which I'm not a big fan of, and also you're just paying a premium for the Razer brand. There's like cheaper headsets that basically do the same thing. So it was all right. If you can get it on a sale, then yeah, I'd recommend it. I wouldn't probably not recommend it at full price though.
All right, let's see. I'm gonna Crumbeck says, "Hey Jez, I just got done watching you in the Game on Daily podcast, and I think experiences like what Supermassive offered with the Corey could be the thing that could make cloud gaming market mainstream. Instead of using horror as the theme, they could do tie-ins with Disney, for example, with Star Wars or Marvel. What are your thoughts on that?" And he says, "I wanted to clarify my question a bit and explain further. I'm meaning if Microsoft and Samsung did, for example, a bundle that comes with the controller and 6 to 12 months of Game Pass, and did that tie-in with Disney for a game of one of their massive IPs made in the way the Quarry was, with its movie mode, for example, where you don't even have to touch the controller, and other various accessibility settings and ease of play, it could potentially be the thing that makes cloud streaming mainstream and accessible to everyone."
I've always thought that the silver bullet that's going to blow up cloud is Diablo 4. I think like what Microsoft might do is they'll drop a bundle for Diablo 4, maybe. Maybe they'll choose something, a little bit more accessible, like a Disney game, But at the end of the day, the thing that's holding back xCloud is server capacity. Microsoft has barely been marketing xCloud. Like most people don't even know it exists, and that's intentional because it doesn't have capacity yet. Like when they bought Fortnite to the cloud, it was the first time we saw xCloud have queues. The first time ever we saw xCloud have queues. It was crazy. They've increased capacity since then, but I don't know if they're going to be able to increase capacity enough to really go ham on all that stuff. The reason, like, they could roll it out to Samsung 2021 TVs tomorrow, but they don't because of server capacity. So some of that stuff is sort of slower and more sort of incremental and that kind of thing. But yeah, as soon as they're ready, they will go hardcore on some of that stuff, I think.
Yeah, because I didn't know what you guys were talking about on Game on Gaz's show. So,
Yeah.
and that's the end of the Patreon questions. Does anybody in chat have any questions before we get on out of here? Because oh my god, it's going crazy upstairs right now, bro. Like people are just running all over the place. So if you guys have any questions in chat, make sure you put them in there. We'll get a couple of them and then we'll get out of here. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today on this Monday. We'll definitely have another show later this week. Maybe we could get somebody to come on like a guest too, Jez, since we'll do 2 shows this week. We did say we wanted to have people on guest for December, right?
Yeah,
we'll definitely have another show this week on Friday or Saturday, and then we have Xbox Ultimate with me and Jez next week on Tuesday, and then Xbox 2+1 towards the end of the month of December. And I should hopefully maybe get some couple of videos out this week, depending on how busy I am with family and stuff like that. But
we need the round videos, bro.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been completely busy. I haven't had time to be online, play video games, or make videos since Wednesday. So, yeah. Oh, yeah, Friday would be the debrief of the VGAs and if Xbox did anything from that Thursday. So, interesting.
Yeah, that's true. I will be podcasting from the UK next week.
Really?
I'm going back to England on Thursday. So, yes,
that should be interesting. Your fake says, Jez, any news about the Settlers? Are you talking about that
Settlers?
Ubisoft game?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know. I did see some Ubisoft thing that was something about Settlers, but I'm not sure. I think it was a leak, Jez. Type it in, Ubisoft Settlers. I forget the name of it.
I don't know much about it.
Vagabond says bring back Dark Rand. Oh, Dark Rand comes out when there's stuff to talk. When I can fully use that persona. Isolar says, "Do you play Callisto yet?" Nope, have not had any chance to play anything since Wednesday, bro, because of all the wedding and family stuff. VGA predictions. I mean, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. I think Elden Ring is going to win Game of the Year. And I'm watching the show to watch the trailers. And yeah, my prediction's Elden Ring. I don't know what Jez is going to pick. God of War Ragnarok, I think, was your prediction, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think God of War Ragnarok will win. Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, I think we're going to end it. I don't see any more questions. So, yeah, thank you guys for being here. I know Cold Eastwood has a show later on today with Gaz and Michael Pachter as a guest, which we didn't even talk about the whole Michael Pachter thing, Jez. We totally forgot about that.
Oh, yeah, Michael Pachter. Well, I suppose we can discuss Michael Pachter on Xbox 2 Ultimate. We'll discuss on Friday, maybe. But there might be some other huge news to discuss this Friday. But yeah, we can overflow to Michael Pachter's comments this Friday.
Because, Xbox has to use all their money and power and the IPs they legally own to prop up Sony. So.
Yeah. Put a pin in that. We'll discuss it next time. But thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Yeah, great show. Also, just want to make a quick note. If you are looking to renew your Xbox Game Pass subscription, you can actually get cheaper Xbox Game Pass codes at our website, the XB2.com. With the code XB2 in the checkout, you can get 10% off, which, saves a couple of dollars or something, off a Game Pass subscription or more if you buy like 6 months or whatever. There's also some games they're selling on there now on the Xbox, on the XB2.com, which is pretty cool.
Yep.
But yeah, check that out. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/XB2, and see you on Friday, I guess.
Yep. See you on Friday, guys. Later.
Take care, everybody. Woo.